Looking for stories that are fresh and new? Dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, cyberpunk, alternate history, and more. They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. From 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
President of the United
You're listening to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network. If you are listening to the show and wish to join us in the chat room, visit paltalk.com. Go to the social issues, select other, and enter the UFO Paranormal Radio Network.
Light up your night with The Kevin Smith Show. Hi, this is Kevin Smith. Join me Monday through Friday right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Hello, this is Angela Thomas with a message about living life to the fullest. As a psychic clairvoyant, I often give insights to one's career path, financial situation, or relationship. Whether one is happy or not in their current situation, where he or she is right now is an important part of learning valuable lessons that can lead to fulfilling one's life purpose. If I can offer you insights, feel free to contact me at 636-278-2272, again, 636-278-2272, or visit my website, angelathomas.org. I'm considered a psychic, so I provide accurate and detailed psychic readings for individuals as well as groups. Remember, no matter what influences your life at the moment, live life to the fullest. Stay in gratitude, count your blessings, and prepare yourself for more opportunities around the corner. I'm Psychic Angela Thomas, and my website is angelathomas.org.
Hey, hi there. Got your attention? I'm Gia Scott, and I was curious what you were doing from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time on Tuesdays. See, I host this really interesting little radio program that airs live then, and we bring in all sorts of guests. Authors, experiencers, and everything in between. It's paranormal and guaranteed to make you go, My guest list is always up at www.giascott.com, and do tune in to the Dawn of Shades from 7 to 9 p.m. on Tuesdays.
The paranormal, ghosts, spirits,
Demons,
reincarnation,
past lives,
the afterlife,
divination,
exorcisms,
witchcraft.
the unseen.
He's psychic medium Chris George.
And he's Victor the Voice Fireman.
We are Second Sight Radio. Join us live
every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time
on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network.
I am pleased to announce Truth Connections Radio is coming to UPRN 107.7 FM out of New Orleans at the Paranormal Radio Network. This is Catherine Buckaloo. Check out our archives at truthconnections.wordpress.com. Meanwhile, see you in October.
A time comes when silence is betrayal. Some of us who have already begun to break the silence of the night have found that the calling to speak is often a vocation of agony. But we must speak.
Truth Connections.
Tune in to the Mind Cemetery with your hosts, Chip and Nicole, every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Exclusively on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We delve into UFOs, abductions, ghosts, aliens, conspiracies, and cryptozoology.
And how could you ever forget about those creepy topics you won't hear on your local news?
This is where I would insert my obligatory skeptical statement. The Mind Cemetery, where the paranoia about the paranormal comes to rest.
Follow us on Twitter and subscribe to us on Facebook. Also, check us out on our website, mindcemetery.com, for show updates and the critically acclaimed Mind Cemetery blog.
It's not critically acclaimed, but you should check it out anyway, mindcemetery.com.
Whoa! Did you hear?
Listen to the Church of Mavis radio show, hosted by Jeffrey Pritchett, 11 p.m. Eastern, Saturday nights. Follow your weird and journey into the high strange. Be sure to stop by www.churchofmavisradio.com for upcoming shows, paranormal news, and show archives. That's www.churchofmavisradio.com.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Benetti, and along with Joe Montaldo, we host News on the Flip Side. Come join us every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Central for our 3-hour program. We have opinions on everything, and we're not afraid to share them. False history gets made all day, every day. The truth of the new is never on the news, but you can find it here with News on the Flip Side. Remember, don't be politically correct. Just be correct. Join us.
Tune in to UFO Undercover, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
I had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really kicked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out the reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, he commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing, especially without Vaseline, right? Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, "Any last wish before you die?" Yo, reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, "Fill your claw, you son of a bitch." Now a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no lip to Six Gun Joe.
Welcome to UFO Undercover, with your host, Joe Montaldo.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of UFO Undercover. Like Natasha just said, I am your host, Joe Montaldo. Hope everyone's having a great morning, great afternoon, great evening, wherever you're on our beautiful blue planet. I had gotten a lot of letters in from China this week, and by the way, it was kind of weird, but, I want to tell everybody, by the way, who wrote in, thank you. But it's kind of weird in the fact that I was noticing the other day, on GoDaddy, China is our third largest downloader. On iTunes not iTunes, but on Podomatic and on SoundCloud, they're not. But when you go to the Paranormal Radio Network site, China is sixth on the list. If you go to news on the flip side, it's actually fifth. It's really weird how they're juggling under it, because when I started all of this 6 or 7 years ago, when I started doing this network, before I've been doing radio for almost 15 years, for about 12 years now. So 11, 12, somewhere up in there. But since I started doing radio, it wasn't like, China was never a big player in any of the audio files before. It's actually happened in about the last 18 to 24 months. First off, we got a venue into China. I'm not sure how it happened, but we do. We had a good venue into China. And they're a large player on the network now. We actually get a lot of mail from them. We get a lot of people talking to us. They speak better English than I do. Shit, most of them type better English than I do, which just cracks me up. I feel for them have to translate my English. I actually try to, keep my grammar and typing as good as I can. Well, for people who know how to speak JoJoese, it's not a big deal. All my good friends and everybody who works with me on iCar and Paranormal Radio Network and the host, and anybody who's known me on the internet for more than 2 years has learned my own. Joe has his own shorthand, basically, and everybody has learned it. So it's not a big deal. What cracks me up is the other day last week I was on pain pills for a kidney stone. Everybody said, "Wow, you're typing so much better." I was like, "Really?" It just cracked me up. So I guess being a little high helped my typing out. I have no idea. That was just funny to me. I started getting letters about that, but a lot of stuff going on. We're gonna be talking with Matt, and I'm gonna bring you on in just a few minutes. For the regular listeners, y'all should be familiar with Matt. Matt is an ex-NOPD who has had reptilian experiences in the city. He has other experiences besides that. We're going to get a little bit into some of that as well tonight. But also I brought Matt on tonight because he was just recently on with Jason and Heather Friday. I know it's a different audience, but still he was just on. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But we're going to talk about some new developments in the case as well. And some new developments in the reptilians that were walking around on West Esplanade near the quarter, too. So there's been some new developments in those cases. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well with Matt tonight. But before we get into that, I've been getting a lot of emails about, is ufology truly dead? I got a lot of friends that are in ufology. I got a lot of people who aren't friends with me in ufology. And I got a lot of people that are somewhere in between. For me, ufology is dead. Okay, we don't even do ufology research. We do abduction research. We specialize in, ET's here. What is ET doing here? What kind of craft are they flying? Why are they taking people? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, that's basically what we do. Chasing lights in the sky, we leave to move on, okay, because they do such a wonderful job at it. So, there's just nothing new. I mean, every week people write to me, "Oh, any new deep throats?" No, and let me be honest about this. Most of the people who claim to be deep throats were liars. Most of the people who said they had privileged government information are liars. Okay, none of them, to date, none of them will take a polygraph or a voice stress analysis, which suggests to me they have something to hide. Okay, oh well, I have secret government information. We'll take a polygraph. Travis Walton took 5. Other people in the field have taken it. Larry Warren's been voice stressed 3 times. So is Peter Robbins, for that matter. So there are people in the field that are willing to put their money where their mouth is, or their credibility where their mouth is. But there's a lot that won't. Lot more that won't. And it bothers me. You're going to make these grandiose claims, but you're not willing to back it up with anything. Bullshit. Anybody can get up and say, I got probed by an alien from New York City. I mean, that's just retarded. Back up what you're saying or shut up. I mean, we do a lot of work. We put out a lot of material, either through this radio show or through stuff that I've done with AS and a few other members of iCar, where we've made videos for YouTube and put it up. We're not like MUFON. We don't hoard the information. We do hoard some, I'm not going to lie. But still, we put a lot of information. Anybody who listens to this show knows we dump a lot of information. I mean, I've done 3 shows in a row just about alien abduction, types of aliens, alien eyes, alien agendas. So, I mean, we put out a lot of information about it. So, you know, we actually do put our money where our mouth is, and literally put our money where our mouth is. So it's important to me. So for me, yes. I haven't heard any lectures lately that I consider to be earth-shattering. It's not that some of them aren't good. I don't want to take away from the guys that are out there doing hard work trying to keep this alive, because there are good people such as Stanton Friedman. Whether I agree or disagree with Stanton I agree with Stanton on a lot of stuff, by the way, not on everything, but a lot of stuff. Whether we agree or disagree, the fact that he's out there doing it, he is an excellent presenter who does excellent research, and he gets people excited and enthusiastic about it. And that's what the field really truly needs. It needs people like that. And there's a few others out there besides that do it as well. But for the most part, most people are out there either because of their ego or the paycheck or both. And most people cannot make a living in ufology, but a few people can. And there's a few people that can make a living. There's half a dozen, maybe 2/3 of a dozen, somewhere around there, that could actually make a living doing this. Actually, I'll be honest with you, if you want to make money in any type of paranormal, ufology, esoteric stuff, I would go into the New Age stuff. First off, a lot of New Agers have money. They're comfortable, and and it's part of their philosophy to share. So, I mean, if that's what you're looking for, that's a good place to go. Ufology is not, most people in ufology are broke. They don't have much money. It was pointed out to me just a few weeks ago, if I was to take every dime that I spent on iCar and the Paranormal Radio Network, I could actually be fully and completely retired right now, completely. So, the wife does not like the fact that we could both be retired right now, but instead we're doing this. So, somebody's got to be here. I will always be here for people who have had experiences because, one, I'm looking for answers myself. Two, I think there needs to be someone for you to talk to. There needs to be some. And by the way, everybody who makes a donation to the Paranormal Radio Network or to iCar, thank you very much, because it helps me out in great. I mean, the station's really expensive to keep on the air, and iCar is not exactly cheap itself. And just in website fees, I spend like $3,000 a year. And that also includes domain names, because I own, I don't know, I had 200, but I sold some. Then I got down to 80. I think I'm back up to about 105 domains now. Each one of them domains is anywhere from $10 to $50, depending on what their registration is and what they're being used for. So they're not exactly cheap. You do the math. And, with that, and then there's bandwidth and all kind of other stuff and storages and stuff like that. But anyway, anytime someone makes a donation, I just want to tell y'all thank you, because it's important to me, and it really does save a lot of stuff for me. And it also allows me to it's really weird. Sorry. I just seen something weird there for a minute. It kind of popped up out of my eyesight there. Very strange stuff going on. Pal Talk's been acting a little weird lately. I don't know what's up with it. For anyone listening to us via the Pal Talk Virtual Auditorium, it's been getting a little squirrely lately. Pal Talk's been doing a lot of updates, so that's probably what that's about. But getting back to this, because I want to get Matt on here in a minute. Getting back to this real quick. As far as I'm concerned, I still go out and do sightings. We still chase lights in the sky ourselves. Matter of fact, just the other day, we got a pretty good video of one. Which was cool. And so, we're also privy to hotspots in the area. And we also know quite a few cops between Dallas, Texas, and Panama City, Florida, that we get regular reports from. Not just them, other people, other members and stuff like that. So it's nice, and it keeps us up to speed, and it helps me to be in the right place at the right time when there's something that I'm personally interested in. And it also allows us to correlate people who say they're being contacted against people who are saying they're seeing UFOs, and so on and so forth. So it kind of corroborates each story. Put this in perspective, Lucy calls me from Gulf Breeze, Florida the other day. Says she had contact that night. Okay. I just happened to have been surfing through the net while I was talking to her. And I noticed that there was 4 sightings, 2 on the night that she said it happened, and 1 on the night prior and 1 on the night after. So it was interesting, made by a few different people. So it was just interesting to see that on there. And then we had someone else call in a dude by the name of Robert called in, also said he had contact. Now, this is the first time I'm saying this publicly. None of this is the first time this is actually public. So it's interesting to see how they're corresponding and cooperating with each other. And that's just nice to see that, it kind of fits together. But, but people who are interested in flying UFOs and stuff like that and the mechanics of UFOs, you should help and back the field, get involved in it. We used to do shows on how you should properly chase a UFO. There's some basic rules. If you can buy a cheap Starboard $8 Kodak camera, the ones that are sealed, buy you one of those. Get you a good digital camera too. Get you a good digital video camera, but you want to have at least one analog camera, because analog cameras give you credibility where digital don't. Because I can go outside and film the Gulf of Mexico and the beach, bring it home, load it into my computer, crop a UFO into it, load it back into my camera, and bring it to somebody and say, wow, look what I got. Of course, it's a fake, but you'll never be able to tell the difference. Because once it's reloaded into that camera and reloaded back into the computer again, it's all seamless. There's no, you can't tell. You can, but it's a lot harder. And with film cameras, when people were faking with film cameras, they were usually using models and stuff like that. But you want the film camera to back up what the digital cameras get, okay? Because you can't double expose a digital. So you want to be able to take a picture with your digital and take a picture with your analog, and then bam, you've got both. And if it's a sealed camera, it's even just that much more credible. It's just, if you want credibility, I'm just telling you, if you're just out hunting and wanting to have fun chasing UFOs, you don't need to do this. But if you want credibility, you really, to be honest with you, you should own a digital camera, an analog camera, a digital camcorder, and an analog camcorder. And you really should, that's what you really should have. And you should try to get it all on all four of them if you can. Because then it takes away any questions of anything being done with the cameras. So then all that's left is it a model? Well, gray pixel on an analog camera is a lot easier to check for that type of stuff, models and or any kind of interference, so you can see that. Digital, actually, you can use digital, because digital allows you to do a few things that you can't do with analog. Even though it's easier to hoax digital, you can also get more information out of digital. So, if you got both, it's just more credibility for anybody out there who's doing it. And I encourage sky watching. I think you should, take a weekend, get your friends together, go out to the beach, go out to the woods, go out to the river, go out to a spot near a city where there's a hot area. I tell you if you really, some of the best locations, because I live in the South on flat land. But if you, say you're in Seattle, Washington, and you can get up on the mountains overlooking Seattle, Tacoma, any place that you can get a mountain overlooking a big city, the odds of you seeing a UFO over a city greatly increase. And sometimes you might even get lucky and catch them hovering over an area with a beam coming out. Maybe an abduction or something, you don't know. But it's an easy way to do it. So those are little things that can help with your credibility, help with your viewing, and, of course, you don't want to go out on a cloudy night or anything like that, but cold, crisp nights are the best because air is much crisper, colors are much vivider in the cold, so you get more detail. But and down here, if it's hot, it's usually muggy, so it's kind of steamy and it kind of blurs everything. But those are just simple tips to make your viewing and your UFO hunting more pleasurable. But back to the question that was asked originally, no, for me, UFO world is dead. I got a lot of friends there, so I'll always be doing interviews with them, and I always will keep an interest in it. But I can't see where or how it's going to change anything. Okay? There is nothing available today that would convince the American people or the U.S. government that aliens are real, or would get the government to disclose. Nothing. There's nothing out there. Nothing anyone said. No secret programs. Nothing available today. And I've been in this field for 30 years. Nothing that would convince the everyday American people or the U.S. government. So in that case, it has failed miserably. And the place where it's been successful is getting more people involved, but in the fact of making a difference and changing it, it's failed miserably. So more people need to get involved. The more people that get involved, eventually there'll be enough people involved that we can have a voting block. Stephen Bissett and I have talked about this and a few other ufologists. And if you can get enough people to get, I introduced this about 10 years ago on Wake Up USA. We need to establish a voting bloc. I've been trying to get ufology to do it for 10 years. They just won't do it. They will not all get together and vote for one person. So if you can't get them together, it's highly unlikely. I mean, if you can't even organize ufology, how do you expect anyone else to really care? And there's so much BS in the field that, God, you know, most people just get tired of reading BS and never come back again. And there's no united front. There's no one. There's no board that does, you know, overseas research. There's none of that. I mean, we are a rudderless ship with no one guiding it. And there's too many big egos. No one will follow anyone. That's the real problem. There's just too many big egos to organize this. You know, most, you know, every other thing, every other form of research has oversight, peer reviews. We don't have that. We have none of that. So, I mean, basically it's a joke. And until something changes, that's where it's going to be. So we'll keep doing our research, and we'll share it with who we feel we need to share it with, and keep the people we know involved and hope for the best. But anyway, enough about all that whining and moaning and bitching. That was just a bunch of letters I've been getting over the last few weeks that they've been disgusted with ufology. So I decided I would just address it tonight. I love UFO World. I think it's a blast and a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of good people doing research, but yeah, I kind of have to agree that at this point right now, it's not going anywhere. All we can hope is that it changes. Abduction research is different because the egos aren't the problem in abduction research. It's more money the problem than egos. And most of the abduction researchers get along pretty good. There's only about 2 that don't. All the rest of them get along pretty good. And there you could actually have guidance. You could actually have a leader in the abduction research area. And still have a coherent thing, but ufology, it's never going to happen. But anyway, our guest tonight is Matt. Matt, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I didn't put you to sleep with all that moaning and bitching and groaning, huh?
No, not at all.
Yeah, well, it's just stuff. I've been getting just a buttload of emails lately, and all about this. I mean, what's going on? To make this short and sweet, what's going on? A lot of people are attending conferences and feeling like they wasted their money. You know, when I talked to the research, it was a great conference. When I talked to the attendees, it sucked. And then I'm not going to, there's 2 conferences, one earlier this year, one later this year. And I asked some of the people who worked there, how many of the people did you see from the year before? Most of them said less than half. That's never a good sign. You know, you should see 70, 80% of the people from the year before, plus a bunch of new people, because of the people who have been talking about the conference. I haven't seen any major gains in any conferences anywhere. No one's busting at the seams or anything like that. And the biggest bitch I hear is it's the same names and the same stuff every time they go. There's nobody new. And it's the good old boys club. It's basically what it is. They don't want to let anybody new in. They're scared they're going to lose their paycheck or their fame or whatever the hell it is. And I see somebody, I don't know who this was the other day. They were bitching on Facebook. It was one of our hosts, I'm pretty sure. We're just bitching on Facebook about ufologists thinking they're famous. And then right underneath it, he wrote somebody really famous, you know, a rock star, a TV star. And I started laughing. It's a damn good point. So a lot of people in ufology who think they're famous, but when it comes to fame, there ain't no Miley Cyruses in the ufology world. Let's be honest about it. Okay. Probably the most famous person in ufology that's a researcher is probably Stanton Friedman. He's probably the most famous. After that, there's a handful, you know, that would go together. Stephen Bissett, Michael Sala, Alfred Weber. Alfred, for some reason, is more popular than – this kind of cracks me up. You know, you got Richard Dolan and Michael Sala and Stephen Bissett. Alfred Weber's more popular than all 3 of them put together. I see his numbers on YouTube. He gets like millions. I'm like, what the hell? Alfred and I are good friends, too, but I just don't know why. I guess because they just love him. He's a sweet guy. He's really a nice guy. And him and I, and he's Jesuit, so I ain't going to ever hate on him. But we don't always agree, mind you, when it comes to a lot of stuff we don't agree on. I'm still not buying the Mars shit, but still, it amazes me at how popular a man is. And maybe it is because he's a really nice guy. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's because he does controversial stuff. I don't know. But, you know, he's pretty famous. And then, like I said, you got Stephen and Michael and Richard. Paola Harris, It was pretty famous, but when I've been interviewing the under 30 crowd, not many people know who she is. Same thing with Linda Moulton Howe. Not many people know who she is. So I guess they're not getting out as much material as they used to be. Or maybe it's just not young people not attending the conferences. Either way, I'm not sure. So those kind of things kind of bother me a little bit to see that. And really, and then you've got the crazies, and we're not going to get into them, but then you've got the crazies. The ones I just got through naming are the same ones. Then we got the ones that are famous and crazy. I don't know, Glenn, but when I ask people over the age of 30, do you know Paola Harris and Linda Moulton Howe, they say yes. When I ask people under 30, most of them, I think it was like 80% said no. So, and we really need, and actually, I've been talking to some of the conference people. They're telling me that the young people attending these conferences are very low. So we're losing the young people. We're not gaining them, we're losing them. ICAR is very fortunate. We have more young people in it than ICAR has members. I should say we have more people under the age of 28 than ICAR has members. So, you know, we're lucky in that fact, but no, I'm not seeing that anywhere else. Nowhere else. And it's only because of what we're doing. And we have younger directors that are kind of fun and stuff. We're not a bunch of, I'm probably the oldest director in the organization, to be honest with you now. I used to not be, but I am now. Other than that, and I'm on average probably 10 years older than the next oldest director. So we try to keep in touch. It ain't easy. And then Jason, Jason's our North America director. Jason's just a spring chicken, man. He's a baby, yeah. He drove me crazy for 10 years. He got to be the boss. I got to give him credit. He's persistent. But what is he now, 34, 35? He's just a baby. He's a pup. But he's kind of in between, which is nice as well. But anyway, we keep getting sidetracked here. Matt, how you, man? I keep getting sidetracked. You can't let me get sidetracked anymore tonight.
Yeah, been good. I was on Friday for an unscheduled radio appearance.
That was so weird, wasn't that?
I got patched in through your Skype somehow involuntarily. I mean, that kind of thing's happened many times before with your phone and my phone.
But that's so weird because you and I were talking. Ladies and gentlemen, in case y'all don't know, I have 3 Skype accounts. Actually 4, but 3 that I use mainly. I have UPR Radio, Paranormal Radio Network, and I actually have UFO Paranormal Radio, UPR Radio, and Paranormal Radio 2012. Well, Matt and I were talking on the Paranormal 2012. Jason and Heather were doing their show on the UFO Paranormal Radio server. So they're talking, they're doing their show. Matt and I had been talking. I told Matt I had to call him back because I had to prep to get Jason and him on air. I said, so Matt, I'll call you right back. So I reach over. I got Jason and Heather on there doing their thing. And we're trying to get Christopher George on because I was going to be their guest, but he was having car troubles. But anyway, we're trying to get him on. So I'm doing that. And so I'm clicking Chris George on the UFO computer, and I'm clicking Matt on the Paranormal 2012 computer. All of a sudden, I hear Jason start talking to Matt. I'm like, what the hell? So I'm trying to figure somehow or another, Skype on its own transferred him from the 2012, which it won't let you do on your own, and put him in the Paranormal one. And the best part is no one's seen it happen. None of us. So take it for what it is. Technical glitch, weird thing, meant to be. I have no idea, but it was very, very strange. And, well, Matt, tell them about when you called and talked to Sue that night.
Oh, yeah, she was calling you. There was another abductee contactee calling you, and I get a call on my phone that says it's your number, and I pick it up, and I end up talking to her for 40 minutes in what says is it's your telephone number, not even your Skype.
How y'all like that, guys? That's physically impossible because they were both on Skype. Somehow my phone, she was calling my phone, so my phone picked her up and called Matt somehow and put them all in Skype at the same time. We don't know, Jim. We don't know who did it. We don't know how it happened. It's not supposed to happen, just like the Transfer Friday is not supposed to happen. The software doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those
things.
Go ahead. Yeah, a lot of those things have. I mean, I was just on a. We'll get to that. I mean, to start off, I've been on this show a few times. I've been on other radio shows, and people out there might have might be familiar with my story. It's been posted on various blogs, the Phantoms and Monsters
No one who
blog.
listens to my UFO show listens to any other UFO shows. Why go anywhere else but here, man?
Right, one-stop shopping.
That's right.
I was on here about 6.5, 7 months ago on this very show, but to do a recap, I was on the New Orleans Police from 2005 to 2007, summer of 2005 to summer of 2007. I was there for Katrina. I was halfway through the academy when Katrina hit, and they just kind of hastily swore us in. But I left because I was in a car accident off duty, got rear-ended really badly. I was driving a Ford Focus, and a Ford Focus rear-ended me, and it kind of forklifted if a Ford Focus hits a Ford Focus, it kind of forklifts it up in the air because you got the low front end and the high rear end. So that kind of messed up my neck for a while, but I do stocks and finance trading now. But so I didn't leave. I know there's a lot of people who leave the NOPD in handcuffs and various other reasons, but I did not leave on bad terms. But yeah, I've had numerous abductions in my life, or at least 3 that I can remember clearly. And the main one, the reason I got in touch with Joe was I was part of this mass abduction in 2005, or what might have been a series of mass abductions where police officers and military abductees, they were taken to what looked like a shopping mall type setting. And some others saw like the UNO arena, but many of it, in my case, it looked like a mall. And basically, this setting, it was almost, it looked like a shopping mall after dark. It looked very convincing. The floors, the shops in the wall, the lampposts, the benches. It didn't look like plywood cutouts or anything. And my memory basically starts in the abduction. And the reason it's connected to Joe is because he's had numerous other police and military with reptilian abductions from the same region of the country, southern Louisiana, that area, and NOPD and whatnot. And a number of them, as you've talked about before, remember being taken to the same type of mall setting. And I believe the last count was pretty high. It was like over 15. Am I right?
Well, this is interesting because I haven't talked to you about this yet. We've got now 4 cases out of where the Panhandle starts to bend between Panama City and between Tallahassee and Tampa, of reptilians moving around during Katrina. So I got two militaries come out of there, and there was 2 military guys and 4 other people who actually reported seeing them moving along the coast doing stuff during the storm. Which is interesting because I had never heard these. These are very brand new. On top of that, we've got some new people out of New Orleans. Plus, we've got 1 more cop that just came forward, and I think 2 more military. One of the military guys is a colonel. He retired last year. We talked about 8 weeks ago. And first he writes me this letter. And he said, someone told me when it comes to reptilian aliens, you're the guy to talk to. And I wrote back to him. I said, well, what can I help you with? I said, I don't know if that's true or not. I said, I know a lot, but, I said, there's so much more to learn than what we actually know. He said, well, he goes into his story. He said he about a year and a half ago, he started having these vivid dreams of being at a mall with a bunch of other people, some military, some police officers, just, a lot of everyday people. He said that he felt at the location there was anywhere from 50 to 300 people. He couldn't really be for sure because he would see people move and then he would hear things and he would see shadows, but he wasn't actually sure how many people were there.
That number sounds about, that's definitely in the range of what I saw. And just to insert in there for the listening audience, we were training them in crowd control type measures basically, and was the main purpose of this. It wasn't like there were some medical aspects of it. We'll get to that, but not to interrupt your letter. Let me just get back.
Well, no, you need to interject. Always feel free to interject there, man, because this all needs to go together. They need to understand what we're talking about here. So, so he says that. So he starts seeing a therapist, military therapist. Okay, and he's telling her about these dreams, and she suggests hypnosis to see if there's some other underlying problem. So they start doing hypnosis. After 4 sessions, the woman refused to see him again, and said there is nothing that any psychologist for the military could do to help him. So he sent me the letter that she wrote to him, the official military letter that she wrote to him about there's nothing more we can do for you. She said, I've never had anything like this. And she said every time that he's under regression, she feels like there's something, a presence there with her. She said she's been doing this for 33 years, has never felt this before. She said what he is recalling, as far as she can see, seems to be absolutely true with nothing underlying. They went all through this man's history. I mean, he's just your everyday, normal, everyday American person, grunt, soldier, lifetime soldier. And she just didn't know what to do. So he said now he starts recanting what's going on. One of the first things he talks about, he said he remembered being he was somewhere else. This is before Katrina, by the way. He was somewhere else. He was on a mission somewhere overseas, and he remembered being put in a mall situation. And he said, for the first 2 or 3 times when he was under, he said, I knew this was a mall, this was a mall, this was a mall. And then for some reason, he still thinks it was a mall, but he thinks it was a mock mall. I mean, it was a real mall, but it was a mock mall. It was inside another type of facility. Now, we've got some people who say this happened at UNO as well. They actually built a replica of the Oakwood Mall across the river and put it inside of UNO. We've actually got other military witnesses that said they have seen this. But the mall he describes is slightly different than this one in his first segment. And now when he came down for Katrina, or right before Katrina, and right after Katrina, he was sent down here, he describes the same mall down here that everyone else did. This is really weird stuff here. So, he's sending me the letter. He sends me one of the transcriptions of the abduction. So I'm sitting there listening to it, right? You can hear, which is important to something else Matt and I are going to talk about later tonight. You can hear in his voice, it almost sounds like someone else speaking. His voice changes to a much deeper, harsher, grittier, graveler tone. It really, really doesn't sound human. The words sound human, but the tone of the voice doesn't. It sounds like some type of animal speaking. I don't even know how to put it. And I'm going to put a clip of it on. This is Colonel. I'm going to put a clip of this on there. I got to make sure that it doesn't have anything, that pertains to his name or anything, but I'm going to put a little clip of this on Facebook this week so y'all can take a listen to it. But so anyway, he sends me this, I'm like floored. I'm listening to this, right? And the funny part about this is I had done about 20 hours of regression with AS, with Arcturian Star, our EU director. And it's really weird because a lot of the stuff in her reptilian encounters are the same as his. Well, Matt, we also regressed Matt down here. And it's really weird that a lot of the stuff that Matt and I were talking about in earlier experiences matched his. So in a lot of ways, Matt, this guy parallels both you and AS's experiences, which kind of freaks me out a little bit. He figures by his own account, there's quite a bit more memory in there. So later this year, him and I are going to get together and do about 15 hours of regression and see what comes out. And we'll just wait and see what comes out. This ought to just be freaky, crazy stuff here. But he went into great detail about the mall. He went into about crowd control. He went into about, they had one place where they were putting them in like jails and processing them through and then sending them to a clinic. And I mean, he basically was like there was people milling all around him. They're in there with these stick things. I forgot what he called them. He called them like shock sticks. And they're moving people around, and they would get them in this like holding area, which was kind of had like a makeshift. I think what they were using, you pull the grates down on the mall doors. I think they were using them for like cells. And then they were moving people through like makeshift hospitals and checkup areas and stuff like that. It was really, really, really weird stuff. But all together now, the reptilian, we've got, I want to say 17 or 18 people now have come forward, all either military or police that have come forward that were either in New Orleans or live in New Orleans that experienced reptilians at this mall and in the water. Now, getting back to this colonel, this is what makes this colonel and 3 other guys we're going to talk about more significant. Because all this went on, and guess where they ended up doing Katrina? In the city of New Orleans. And get this, Matt. This guy was the colonel who assigned the other guys to go walk down Esplanade that particular day that they had the encounter. So is it a coincidence? It's a damn big one, man.
Well, I'll tell you, the training I was involved in was definitely, and this could have been multiple training sessions at that same the same training facility, because the one I was involved in was like a month and a half before the storm.
Yeah.
And I know that because I woke up literally with an implant, which kind of, I would have convinced myself it was just a really vivid dream without the implant. It's like, because I even though I had another abduction in 2003, I tend to lean, I back then I tended to lean kind of skeptical with, I mean, I knew I was an abductee, but I don't like jumping to conclusions on things. And if it wasn't for waking up with an implant under my skin that had no way of appearing overnight like that, I would have convinced myself, oh, that was a really vivid dream, and I probably do have abductions, but why, reptilians in a mall setting, and I mean, who would? But then, since then, like as I'm talking to you now, in the modern era, we see what's happened in the Mideast, what's happened in Southern Europe, the mass unrest we've seen in the world, which has been unlike anything we've ever seen for centuries. So the idea that the reptilians would be interested in crowd control now makes a lot of sense, whereas back then it made no sense at all. Because what was the last big riot before 2005? The LA riots? I mean, at least that in this country, it wasn't on your mind like, oh yeah, riots are a problem. Now they're like one of the biggest problems in the world. So yeah, I mean, that's it's sort of, in hindsight, it makes sense why they'd be so focused on that specific kind of scenario. Whereas, at the time it was that added to the weirdness of it. Like, because a lot of it's, like you said, we have preconceived notions of what aliens, what they'd want to be doing, what their motivations would be. We have all these science fiction movies that tell us exactly what aliens would be doing, what they wouldn't be, so we have these sort of preset borders of what we think is impossible. And but yeah, I mean, since then the news climate of the world is starting to match that exactly. Now, obviously, we haven't officially seen any reptilians deployed to beat up protesters anywhere yet, but they certainly have the training that I've seen.
Maybe that was them 8 Democrats they arrested at the mall today or yesterday, that were down there inciting to riot. Or maybe they were reptilians. Who knows? It's kind of weird.
It's funny though, using the stores and the gates as little prisons. That's actually a really
good
innovative idea. Yeah, I remember they did that in the remake of Dawn of the Dead. They locked up in the beginning. They locked up some of the characters in one of the stores.
It's a theme that's been around for a while. I've heard it from some other people, but it's really bothering me that we've got all these along the south, and recently coming out of Seattle and where is it, San Francisco and Seattle, I've got about 4 other reports of these same type of events going on. It just bothers me that we have a race of aliens visiting the planet that seem to feel the need to teach humans riot control, and not per so much military. There is some military involved, but it does look like a lot of them are just everyday civilians. But okay, let me rephrase it. I mean civilians in the fact that most of them probably work in some type of field, police, military, ex-military, ex-police, stuff like that, security, things along those lines. Not all of them, but probably a lot of them have a predisposition for that. And they follow orders well. And ET likes people who follow orders well. They don't have to be worried about you rioting and when you're taking care of the rioters or whatever else is going on. It bothers me, though, because we've got enough accounts now. When we first got the first reptilian report in New Orleans, I was kind of like, eh. Got up to 4, I was kind of like, eh. Now we're moving way the hell up the line. Hey, caller, give us a little while. We'll take some calls at the start of the second hour. And actually, I think I recognize that number. Is that you, Ben? If it is, give us a call at the top of the second hour. But a couple of things going on like that. It seems to be that it's progressing now. Now, of course, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. You don't know, some people may be lying, but everybody I've interviewed in New Orleans is, like I said, ex-military, still military, ex-police, or still police. about more than half of these people are still working for the police department and for the military. And, you know, when you start talking, because we don't ever talk about everything that we've discussed in private, but we talk about a lot of this. And when you start talking to them and they start filling in the blanks, you know they've had the same experience. You know, you're like, wow, they've definitely had the same type of reptilian experience. And there's been 3 or 4 types down here that we've been heavy, like the training in the malls, training on one of the ships, movement through the waters down here, roaming around. You know, I thought it was funny that, you know, people saw them walking down Esplanade Avenue on 3 different occasions that I know of, 4 different occasions I know of. And now we've got similar accounts along the Florida coast between Tallahassee and Tampa. And there's a lot of rural area down there, so I don't even know why they would have had to been seen. I mean, if you've ever driven through there, there's a lot of rural area along the coastline, so there's a lot of swamp. So I don't think they like this. I think they like the climate, but I think they like everybody else. Why walk in the sludge and mud when you can walk on the road? You know, it seems to make more sense to me. I mean, they're advanced alien race. Why bother? You know, why not walk on the road? Who's going to challenge them? They ain't nobody going to challenge them. And most people are just going to think, did I really see that? Nah, it's rainy, it's stormy, it's scary. Nah, I didn't see that. Get the hell out of here. I didn't see no reptilian walking around. You know, so they're going to ignore it and go on with their lives, unless they, you know, get up close or something. And then they're going to freak. But you know, a question just came in from somebody. Well, go ahead. What were you going to say, Matt? First, I asked you that.
Oh, well, I was going to say the training that I witnessed there, it really seemed like the reptilians were doing most of the heavy lifting in terms of frisking people, sorting people. Yeah. It almost seemed like the training was more for their benefit than for the abductees. But like the abductees were we were just sort of actors and facilitators, and they were the ones really doing the training. And they were so into it, which was another weird thing. They seemed so intense about it, and so granted, it's a car alarm out there. They're so intense and so focused that you had another story about a National Guardsman who was there, and he made some sarcastic comment to one of the reptilians, and it bit him like on the shoulder, on the clavicle, in the same spot that I got bit, and I had not heard about his story before I reported, you know, my nipping, and it shows you how kind of tense and on edge the reptilians were,
and shows you got a little temper. Not enough that they wanted to kill you, but enough they wanted to, you know, backslap you a little bit. What amazes me is they have excellent healing skills. No, but I agree with that, Matt, because I've gotten both reports. I've gotten reports where I would consider the humans like cannon fodder. They were just being used as like cattle, moving them around. But I have got reports where they've also been being trained themselves. So it's kind of a weird, and I don't know why it's one way sometimes or in other ways. Other times I don't even know if it's the same people flip-flopping back and forth. You know, there's some of the same people for sure, but is it all? I don't know. It's a long ways. It's a lot of people that seem to be out there, and I know the more we talk about this and the more shows we do about it, the more people that come forward. And there's even been a couple of hints recently to cases like this in the Mediterranean area, so I'm waiting to hear about that. We'll find out about that in about 2 weeks. But this does seem to be something that's going on. And I was talking with Jennifer the other day, and she's actually from Atlanta, Georgia, living in Alabama now, Mobile. And we got to talking about something that happened to her while she was on the beach in Florida, Bama. There's a little place down there where Alabama and Florida meet, and they call it Florida, Bama. And it's really beautiful down there. But long story short, she was out on the beach one night with her 2 girls. They were just hanging out, you know, watching the skies. It was actually, I think there was a meteor shower scheduled that night. And she was just out there watching them. And she said out of nowhere, these 2 reptilians just walked up on them, stood there, looked at them. They stood up, you know, kind of freaked out a little bit. But she said, I wasn't scared enough that I wanted to run off, which still puzzled her because she didn't understand why she didn't go running into screaming night, dragging her 2 kids behind her. The 2 kids, she says, actually seemed to act like they knew them. They weren't scared of them. She said they were like, you know, they were doing stuff like, hi, what you up to, stuff like that. And then the next thing she said she remembers after that is laying on the beach with her 2 girls watching the stars. But she said when she was driving home at night talking to the kids were just going through the account of what went on, being on board the ship, doing this, doing that, and she didn't remember any of it. And even on regression, it's not coming out. And we don't regress kids. It's not something we do. So I guess we'll have to wait till the kids are adults. But it's just weird. You get these accounts, and then sometimes the reptilians are always sweet and friendly, and sometimes they're quite arrogant, egotistical, and even vicious to an extent. So, and we know it's the same race. I guess they're like anybody else. Some days they have good days, some days they have bad days, I guess.
Yeah, they seem pretty temperamental. I mean, they're very emotionally. Their body language is very animated. They're very, the vocal tones are too. They're very contrary to sort of science fiction belief about reptilians and how they're depicted. They're very. They're pretty hot. Yeah, they're pretty. They have a wide emotional range. I mean, I'd almost compare them. I guess a better term for them is saurian instead of reptilian. In which case, I guess you could more like birds. And if anyone's owned a cockatiel or owned a bird, you could see how irritatingly emotional they can be. I'm not saying reptilians are irritating. I'm just saying they're very they're not stiff. They're not cold, obviously, as you've talked about I think a few times before we've done.
Yeah, they're definitely some kind of, I don't know what they are. They're not cold-blooded. The reptile is just a poor description. And I think they get the bum reptile look because they got that lizard look, but they're not really reptiles. I mean, we know that at least half of them are amphibians that we've seen. Probably all of them are. I'm pretty sure they all are in some way or another. Then we know they got at least one kind that's winged. So, I got to wondering about all this, and one of the things we ask contactees is, could this be genetic engineering? Could these be specialty items for different ones? Maybe they have ones that are, maybe they do a caste system, which I haven't seen any evidence of a caste system, but I do with the Greys, but not with the Reptilians. So it's hard to say, but you do get and like in a training exercises, you rarely hear of one with a tail. These are usually younger reptilians. The adolescent reptilians don't have tails. What we mean by adolescent reptilian could be a couple 100 years old. A full male that's in charge, may run up, and be several thousand years old. It's not the same as age the way we age. They live a much longer lifespan. Same thing with the Greys and the humans. They all live a much longer. And eventually, we've doubled our lifespan from just 150 years ago. And probably we'll double it again in another 150 years. And we'll probably keep going on until we figure out how to be basically immortal with the fact that, we can still die, just won't be from disease or sickness or things like that. Eventually, we will get there. But God knows when. But it'll happen. I mean, you can just watch our progression in science. Just the other day, I was watching. They were talking about regeneration drugs for your heart, all kind of new cancer treatments, all kind of new drugs and treatments. Now we're talking about nanites going in there and actually eating the cancer up and removing it and repairing it at a molecular level. We're talking about stem cells, which look at Peyton Manning to see what stem cells have done. And a lot of this research, unfortunately, is banned in the U.S., which gives all of our allies and even enemies a leap on us.
It's interesting. There's two other reptilian abductees out there. Ken Bakeman, who was a guest on one of your shows, on your shows there just a few months ago, and you've interviewed him once before. And there's another guy, Simon Parks, and they both had some experiences where they've run into these big sort of alpha, older male reptilians, some of them, winged. And it's funny, in both their cases, two different continents, they met this really big sort of alpha-type reptilian, and they both had two sons with them, like, at all times, that basically followed them around like they're two. Like, when that particular alpha reptilian dies, one of those sons is going to take over. And they kind of, it's like I don't know if it's a redundancy or something, but they always have their two sons right there next to them with them. And they'll make statements to the abductee to a point like, hey, we consider you part of the family, but let's be clear, you can never inherit any throne or, move up the hierarchy or, but in all other ways, you're part of the family, but there's this glass ceiling where you can never, sort of like move up the hierarchy if some other reptilian dies, whereas a full-blood reptilian. So that's kind of weird, as you've mentioned with other reptilian cases, where they'll emphasize how much the abductee is related to them through bloodlines and is a family member, but there's also this weird glass ceiling that kind of you're always the fact that you're human. It's sort of a weird dual sort of existence there in their society that reverse racism towards humans, but.
Yeah, like you said, a little reverse discrimination going on
there. Yeah, they seem to have a real clear, very medieval hierarchy of when someone dies, the son under them takes the place, and there's another son under them, or two sons under him. It's very organized, and someone dies, who takes over what position, and
yeah, well, too, we've talked about this in the past, but in some cases they may be, depending on how old we're talking about, or how advanced the younger reptilians are, they may actually be holding the consciousness to be uploaded into a host body. Because the reptilians have the technology that the Greys and the humans do, as far as if they can actually grow a body and upload their consciousness. But they seem to be different about it. They don't seem to have the need to live forever. They seem to understand that they're supposed to be mortal, at least in some fashion. It's not like it's just not like the same thing for them. They just I guess they've come to deal with death on a different level or something. Or maybe they just don't have a fear of death. I don't know what it is, but.
In the Simon Park's case and in Ken Bakeman's case and in other cases, some of these older alpha reptilians, they have some arthritis to an extent. They don't move very fast. Some of them look a little bit overweight. They're definitely not in peak. You could tell they're no longer in like peak condition. They're not necessarily on a cane, but they, age is kind of getting to them. And I don't know if they're 2,000 years old or whatever, but age is kind of they don't stay perfectly healthy to the end. So I guess extension and everything, all these technologies, everything's got its limit, so.
And it does. Well, that's just true. Everything does have its limit. It's one of those things, and I guess there comes a time where they may get old and not want to be uploaded into a new body. They may just want to say to hell with it. Or maybe it's in there, maybe it's part of their religion that they can't. Maybe they have a cutoff point. Maybe they think if you live too long, you get bitter. I have no idea what it is, to be honest with you. We don't know enough about them. We do know they have some type of religion. We just don't know what the hell it is. We've had too many contactees talk about it, and too many ceremonies they've been present at. Not involved with, mind you, but present at. So who knows exactly what the hell it is. It's interesting stuff. Out of all the races that they say visit the planet, that one seems to be the most like us, or we seem to be the most like them. We're not, the human aliens are much different than us and seem to be standoffish from us and really treat us more like distant trash cousins. Whereas, like you just said, the reptilians may never let you ascend to a higher level with them, but they do consider you family, and they treat you as such. When it comes to human aliens, I only get two things. Either they're hateful and mean and vicious, or they're so peace, love, and light it makes you want to go heave. But there doesn't seem to be any middle ground, which means one or the other is lying. Just who is it? Who is it?
It's the reptilians. It almost seems like human society and reptilian society at times were very, very similar. But we kind of after the Renaissance, we kind of put away the whole medieval feudalism thing, and they sort of stuck. I don't know how, but they sort of stuck with it, and they're still into swords and knives, and they have advanced energy weapons and craft, but they're also a lot of this weird throwback stuff like wearing armor or carrying spears for no reason, and a lot of this, it's humans. We had this after the Renaissance, we started expanding to the New World, and the mercantilist classes kind of took over. And all the feudalism had to go away. Now, I don't know how the reptilians kept their feudalism going all this time, or why we sort of split off from that, but there was kind of there were points, for many, many hundreds of thousands of years, and that where humans And reptilians, in terms of how our societies are, yeah, we're more similar to them than the Greys or the Nordics. I mean, yeah, well, I think it's that we're both kind of evolved from pack hunting carnivores, basically. I mean, we both, to a certain extent, it's kind of like, why do humans and dogs get along so well? Because both of our species did the same kind of, hunting in groups, and we kind of understand each other's body language. And same thing with the reptilians. Their body language is very similar to ours, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Probably from having a similar background of hunting in groups, and it's just
they really do seem to be a lot like. But I didn't mean to cut you off there, but we got to go take a break right quick. But guys, Matt, we done blew through the first hour like it was nothing. But guys and girls, we're going to be right back about 8 or 10 minutes. Just hang out, chill out. Smoke a cigarette, smoke a joint, drink a beer, pop a Coke, whatever. Hang out. Don't turn your TV on. TV's evil. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in about 8 to 10 minutes, so please stay tuned.
You're listening to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Hanging around downtown by myself, and I had so much time to sit and think about myself, and then there she was, like double cherry pie, yet there she was, like disco superfly. I smell sexy, can they hear? Who's that lounging in my chair? Who's that casting deep fear stares in my direction? Mama, this surely is a dream. Yeah, mama, this surely is a dream. Dig it. Hanging around downtown by myself, and I've had too much caffeine, and I was thinking about myself, and then there she was, in platform double suede, yeah, there she was, like disco lemonade. I smell sex and candlelit hair. Who's that lounging in my chair? Who's that casting fear stares in my direction? Mama, this surely is a dream. Yeah, mama, this surely is a dream. Yeah, mama, this surely is a dream. Yeah. I smell sex and candy, yeah. Who's that lounging in my chair? Who's that casting deep fear stares in my direction? Mama, this surely is a dream. Yeah, mama, this surely is a dream. Yeah, mama, this surely is a dream. Yeah, mama, this must be my dream.
If you are listening to the show and wish to join us in the chat room, visit paltalk.com. Go to the social issues, select other, and enter the UFO Paranormal Radio Network.
Light up your night with the Kevin Smith Show. Hi, this is Kevin Smith. Join me Monday through Friday right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Hello, this is Angela Thomas with a message about living life to the fullest. As a psychic clairvoyant, I often give insights to one's career path, financial situation, or relationship. Whether one is happy or not in their current situation, where he or she is right now is an important part of learning valuable lessons that can lead to fulfilling one's life purpose. If I can offer you insights, feel free to contact me at 636-278-2272. Again, 636-278-2272, or visit my website, angelathomas.org. I'm considered a psychic, so I provide accurate and detailed psychic readings for individuals as well as groups. Remember, no matter what influences your life at the moment, live life to the fullest. Stay in gratitude, count your blessings, and prepare yourself for more opportunities around the corner. I'm Psychic Angela Thomas, and my website is angelathomas.org.
Hey, hi there. Got your attention? I'm Gia Scott, and I was curious what you were doing from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time on Tuesdays. See, I host this really interesting little radio program that airs live then, and we bring in all sorts of guests, authors, experiencers, and everything in between. It's paranormal and guaranteed to make you go, My guest list is always up at www.giascott.com, and do tune in to the Dawn of Shades from 7 to 9 p.m. on Tuesdays.
The paranormal,
Ghosts,
spirits,
demons,
reincarnation,
past lives,
the afterlife,
divination,
exorcisms,
witchcraft.
the unseen.
He's psychic medium Chris George.
And he's Victor the Voice Herman.
We are Second Sight Radio. Join us live
every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time
on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network.
I am pleased to announce Truth Connections Radio is coming to UPRN 107.7 FM out of New Orleans at the Paranormal Radio Network. This is Catherine Buckaloo. Check out our archives at truthconnections.wordpress.com. Meanwhile, see you in October.
A time comes when silence is betrayal. Some of us who have already begun to break the silence of the night have found that the calling to speak is often a vocation of agony. But we must speak.
Truth Connections.
Tune in to the Mind Cemetery with your hosts Chip and Nicole every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Exclusively on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We delve into UFOs, abductions, ghosts, aliens, conspiracies, and cryptozoology.
And how could you ever forget about those creepy topics you won't hear on your local news?
This is where I would insert my obligatory skeptical statement. The Mind Cemetery, where the paranoia about the paranormal comes to rest.
Follow us on Twitter and subscribe to us on Facebook. Also, check us out on our website, mindcemetery.com, for show updates and the critically acclaimed Mind Cemetery blog.
It's not critically acclaimed, but you should check it out anyway, mindcemetery.com.
Whoa! Did you hear?
Listen to the Church of Mavis radio show, hosted by Jeffrey Pritchett, 11 p.m. Eastern, Saturday nights. Follow your weird and journey into the high strange. Be sure to stop by www.churchofmavisradio.com for upcoming shows, paranormal news, and show archives. That's www.churchofmavisradio.com.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Benetti, and along with Joe Montaldo, we host News on the Flip Side. Come join us every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Central for our 3-hour program. We have opinions on everything, and we're not afraid to share them. False history gets made all day, every day. The truth of the new is never on the news, but you can find it here with News on the Flip Side. Remember, don't be politically correct. Just be correct. Join us.
Tune in to UFO Undercover, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
I had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really kicked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Works with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night. They stopped to check out the reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing. Especially about Vaseline. Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, any last wish before you die? Yo, reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, fill your claw, you son of a bitch. Now, a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no lip to Six Gun Joe.
Welcome to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed the first hour. It seemed to just blow by there. And damn, Skippy, while you hear that song about don't give no lip to Six Gun Joe, remember, don't give no lip to 12 Gun Joe or 9 Gun Joe, okay? Because Joe don't carry 6 guns anymore. Joe carry 9mm with 12 shots, 2 380s with 9 shots. I'm telling y'all, if I would have been amongst the bikers in New York that day, it would have been a much different scene. There would have been no running over nobody. I'd have stepped out the vehicles. I'm going to tell you what, there might be 30 of y'all, and there might be 1 of me, but I got 30 rounds here that says at least 10 of you bitches are going to hit the ground before you can get to me. So do we want to do this nicely and wait for the police, or does someone want to die? Sometimes you just got to take a different approach. And if it goes down the other way, I'm a firm believer in when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. I have seen too much weird and strange shit in my life to think any other than that. It's really, really, you know, I've seen people who should be dead that are alive. I've seen people that I thought would live forever that are dead. I've seen healthy people all of a sudden overnight become sick. I've seen people walking across the street and get killed. I've known young people, old people, all sorts of ages. So for me, I'm and it sucks. I have to agree with y'all, but when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. And there ain't much you're going to be able to do about it. So if that would have been the day for me to go, somebody's like, well, don't encourage it. Bullshit. If it's your time to go, it's going to happen anyway. They'd have just drug you out and killed you anyway. They damn near did it to that guy anyway, didn't they? They drug him out the car. They could have killed him. So, you know, it's one of them things. Who knows? You just started pulling triggers. Maybe them 4 undercover cops, they would have pulled their guns out and even things out or something. Anyway, I hear one of them got charged today, too. It's good for them SOBs. No, I don't provoke gun violence. Whoever just sent me that email, no. I think guns serve a purpose and should be used for what they should be used for, and nothing more than that. I've had a gun my entire life. My kids grew up around guns. My grandkids grew up around guns. Nobody's out there shooting nobody up. Ain't been no accident, killings, any of that shit. Because if you understand, if you teach them and make them understand what guns are for and what they are, and teach them respect, you don't have to worry about crazy Columbine or crazy ass kids like the Sandy Hook or the Denver kid. Because I would have known. I would have known within a month after having a kid out with a gun if that kid should even been around a gun. I'd have had his ass in therapy. I remember the first time I took my son out, his godfather came up to see us. And his godfather's got a .357 nickel-plated snub nose, six-shooter. It's a true six-shooter. And it's a .357 snub nose. I'm like, should we let him? He's like 9 at the time, okay? You know, so I said, before we do that, let's give him, I think we gave him a 25, let him shoot a 25. So he pops off a couple rounds with the 25, 25, pop, 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 like a cap gun. And I said, okay, and we're shooting out a watermelon. You could see the little 25 bullets hit it. So then I gave him the 380, pop, pop, pop. He finally hit one of the 380. So that's pretty cool. So then Mike hands him the .357 Magnum. He pulls the trigger on this thing. The gun comes back and whacks him between the eyes, okay? Hit him left a bruise, burnt him and left a bruise. But when it did, he hit the damn watermelon, did center, and that bitch blew it apart. And right at that moment, he understood and respected what that gun could do. And ever since that point, he has had a healthy respect for guns. He knows what they're for. He doesn't fear them. They don't scare him. But he knows that they can be deadly, and he knows that they can be sat as a centerpiece. I mean, his sits on his shelf. I don't think it's ever even been out of the house. And it's not just him. All the families like that. All of our kids grew up with guns, all of them, from young ages. They were all in the woods hunting, and it's just, you just have to respect it. Because like I've said a million times, guns don't kill people. People kill people. As you see in New York, they didn't even pull out the gun. What did the guy do? He's running them over an SUV. Come on. That's one of the worst weapons they got, man. Let's be honest about it. So, you know, it's just how it is. Okay, anyway. We're going to open the phone lines back up. So anybody who wants to call in. I think Ben has already joined us. Anybody else listening to us, I'd like to call in. This is the time to do it. Matt, hey, we're welcome back now after we got on yet another rant tonight. I can't believe we got a gun rant tonight on a UFO show. But hey,
well, I mean the reptilians that in the small, some of them had a weapon, and other reptilian abductees, like Ken Bakeman, for example, he's drawn the exact same weapon I've seen, and it's a super thin backpack. The backpack's like a battery cell, and it's this energy weapon that when they shoot something, it produces this dense cloud of sparks. In fact, they tested using this in this mall where they would shoot an object near people, like a bench, like a garbage can, and it would just burst into thousands of dense sparks, like kind of like a welding torch or something from a distance.
I've actually heard about this thing a couple of times. You know, it's interesting too because about it was 1998, 2000, somewhere around there, the government was coming up with a new gun that could do quite a few things. You know, it had a barrel that you could actually take the thing and flex it so that it would kind of twist around a corner. This is back when they were still trying to figure out if they could do heat-seeking bullets and stuff like that, which I have no idea if they ever figured that out or not. But out of that came what they called the M80, which was an electric gun. It came with a backpack, and it would shoot a bolt of electricity at you for about, I think it was 15 or 20 yards up to. But they couldn't figure out, it had a backpack that used it, but they couldn't get the backpack down to under 80 pounds. I don't know if they've ever got that, but see, that sounds a lot like, not exactly by any means, but it sounds like something along the same lines. And by the way, in case y'all didn't know, somebody actually figured out how to make a lightsaber. We talked about this a few weeks ago when the story broke, but we've talked about it on news on Flip Side, but I don't think I've talked about it on UFO Undercover. Have y'all seen that? That's amazing crap. Yeah, they're going to be able to make lightsabers, man.
Yeah,
no one ever
heard about that
before. Yeah, it's all. I mean, this is crazy. I love this kind of stuff. I mean, this is future tech for me. I love this.
Well, it's funny because the day after, I mean, basically after I saw those weapons at the mall, I guess jealous would sort of be a word to an extent that I went out and I bought a Beretta Storm. It's a super futuristic looking carbine, 40 caliber. Yeah. Looks like something out of a sci-fi. In fact, they used them in the Battlestar Galactica remake a few years ago as the weapons, and they didn't even change anything. It's so futuristic that it fits in. You could put it in like a sci-fi show, but it's like, before my experience, I kind of laughed at the Beretta Storm because it looks so ridiculous and futuristic. But after I saw the Reptilians using those weapons, I'm like, I got to go out and get my own futuristic looking. So I can't have these primitive. After that, just like a regular pistol or Glock was like, it was like something out of the Flintstones. I had to have whatever the most futuristic looking weapon was after my experience. So it changed my view on weaponry. But anyway.
Yeah, it's good stuff like that. But I know, let's see, Ben called in first. Ben, what you up to, man? Just hanging there.
Nothing much. Nothing much. Just busy with college right now. But I have a question about the implant thing from earlier.
Okay.
So I know you say in your older shows that ET doesn't really do implants. It's mostly when you get military MILWAB.
Yeah, mostly.
What do you think of this implant? Is it military or is it actually from the reptilian?
Well, being what they were doing with Matt, this is probably from the reptilian. Now, I mean, there's no way to 100% rule out that it was not a military thing because you don't know if it was put in at a different time when he was put back. And we do know that there are handoffs between the aliens and the government sometimes. So there's always that possibility. But from what earlier conversations that Matt and I have, and his regression suggests to me that this was a reptilian implant. But like I said, you can't always rule out the possibility 100%. And it's gone now, Matt, isn't it?
No, it's still. I've had an MRI. I've had a ultrasound. It's shown up on the ultrasound. The MRI tech didn't really see it, but the ultrasound tech did. And there's another guy in Indiana, another case that was booked through MUFON. And this guy, reptilian abductee, same exact, not to get graphic, but basically it's in a reproductive area, let me put it that way. It runs through the urethral canal. And originally, and the thing is that there's actually there's another case just a few months ago here in Southern Illinois, reptilian abductee, same part of the body. But here's the thing, it's not reproductive. From what the reptilians have told other abductees, and I don't know why I didn't remember this particular memory myself, but this implant, essentially, it's almost like a hack of the central nervous system. It keeps central nervous system energy from leaking. Your spine has two exit points, up near the skull and down near the pelvis. And this kind of keeps the energy that would normally just leak out, like EMF, how it leaks out of an electrical socket. It takes that energy and basically does a U-turn with it and pipes it right back in. And it's basically almost like a acupuncture kundalini antenna to boost your central nervous system. And, so it's kind of like a hack or an enhancement, which actually brings up an interesting, Joe, you talked about another reptilian abductee, NOPD, with Brad Steiger, I believe, one time on the radio, who has an implant behind his knee that knocks out Winn-Dixie whenever he goes he couldn't go to
not the only one, by the way. We've had other ones that they'll set off the scanners or they'll throw off the thing. Sometimes they'll turn them off completely. Recently, a couple of the implants were going through security at the airports and screwed up all kind of stuff. Matter of fact, two of them got held by whatever them idiots they call over there run that airport security now. But
TSA.
Yeah, TSA actually held them for a day because every scanner they used, including the hand wands, went berserk. And finally, they got those new machines they put you in that can scan everything. And they scanned them, couldn't find anything, and let them go. They said, well, we don't know what the hell it was, what it was setting it off. But the funny part was they scanned them, couldn't find anything wrong with them. And then for some reason, the one of them, they put the wand back on, the wand went berserk again. But the wand worked on everybody else.
And these were reptilian, these were all reptilian abductees or mostly reptilian? Or?
No, these actually, you know what, these may have been. Let me see. Let me get it in my head right quick. I don't want to be wrong about this. Yeah, she's a reptilian. Yeah, they're both reptilian contactees, come to think about it. It never really dawned on me, but they really both are. Matter of fact, he's a great contactee, the other one. Gentleman from up north, he's a great contact. But anyway, this seems to be something that happened. But this must be a particular type of implant because we know about the implants that move around. Those are very dense. Those were probably put in by the Greys. We know about the different chips that the government uses, 4, 5, 6 variety we've seen, from the little pellet-sized ones to the ones that are about the size of a little bit bigger than a grain of rice, maybe 2 grains of rice, but no bigger than that, no bigger around than 1 grain and no longer than 2. We know about those, and we've seen, Dowson's retrieved them, John Lear's retrieved them, a few other people have gotten them retrieved out there, and they've been analyzed. So, we've seen stuff like that, and that's definitely government stuff there. Usually, when you get one that we consider to be alien, it defies analysis. The materials, like when those they look like little gold, they look like BBs. Actually, is what they look like. Okay, now 2 of these, the guy said, the surgeon said they were moving when he grabbed them and pulled them out. They were like little thin lines. They looked like little worms or something when he pulled them out. But as soon as he set them on the table, he said they round up into a ball. Now, they didn't have it on video, so I don't know if he's telling the truth or not. But when he sent both of these, and he posted the analysis works, when he sent both of them, they knew what the material was, but it isn't found on Earth. It's not something that's actually found here as far as they know, in any quantity.
Well, in my case, it seems to be something non-metallic. I don't know if it's carbon fiber or some kind of conductive but non-metallic or non-resonant type thing. But it's basically almost like a wire that runs all the way through the urethra back to the spine. And I hate to get too graphic. I don't even like talking about it because of the area it's in. Like, I don't like...
Yeah, because it's ouch.
I don't like, I don't like... if it was in any other part of the body, it'd be like when we started the show, it would have been the first thing I talked about. But it's like one of those things, like, I'll talk about it, but I don't like, like, I wish it was in some other part. But basically, I guess for it to function, it has to run through that area. However, this sort of nervous system, conservation of energy thing works. That's the way only one of us out of 3 that I know of was awake when it was installed. And it's funny, they sat him it looked like a bathtub filled with like Jello or gelatin, and this little device that looked like a yellow and blue, almost like a little submarine, kind of went and did the installation. So the Reptilians didn't have to sit there and do it was almost like there's an automated device that installs it. And who knows? Maybe the Greys engineered that device. Maybe they didn't even invent it. Maybe, but that's how advanced their technology is. They can have this thing implanted, and they just sit back and set the thing off, and it installs it by, it's kind of gruesome, like something out of the Matrix, but it's, you remember that scene in the Matrix, if that implant, like in the stomach, or that was, but it's weird because it almost seems like these implants and these other guys who were knocking out TSA scanners, because we know there's tracking implants, but the tracking implants don't usually go around just knocking things out. These seem to be more, like in my case, it's some kind of enhancement of the nerve, like it's designed to improve the person more than just track them. Because if they wanted to track you, I'm sure they could just put in like a little grain of rice. You wouldn't, have to run a damn wire through half a person's body to track them. So it's obviously for more than tracking. And it's for more than reproduction. Before I heard about the other cases, I just thought, it's got to be reproductive because it's in the reproductive area, but no, it has nothing to do, doesn't really have anything to do with reproduction, but that's
crazy stuff. See, I don't think about it because sooner or later we ain't getting into that, never mind. Lord have mercy. That's one of the things. Oh, by the way, while I'm thinking about this, ladies and gentlemen, I've been doing this a lot lately. I'm going to do this again. I want to challenge everyone. We've been doing this on our shows for Facebook. Our goal is to get our Facebook pages over 100,000 fans. I think last I checked, News on the Flip Side was around 41,000. Paranormal Radio was around 36. I think UFO Undercover was around 35. I'd like to see UFO Undercover make 50 in the next 2 weeks. So if you're listening to us tonight and you are a Facebook subscriber, I know a lot of our listeners don't use Facebook, but I know a lot do. Click like. It only takes a minute. Just click on like and say hi. The more people we have on there, the easier it is for us to get advertisement for the network. It just helps out. It just shows the fans. And by the way, there was a new fan that just joined Facebook, my Facebook UFO Undercover page. What did I do his name? Vala Yuga UFO, I believe it was. I'm probably saying it wrong, and if I am and you're listening tonight, I apologize for butchering your name. I have to say, you have one of the largest libraries of ancient art I've seen ever. I actually spent a whole 5 hours the other day on your Facebook page downloading pictures to my computer. Stuff I've lost in the past, stuff I haven't seen in a while. I got to say, man, 2 thumbs up to you. I hope I pronounced your name right. If not, I will find it again and make sure I do. But I got to say, I mean, you're a new fan. I noticed you just about 2 weeks ago liked the page, or a week and a half ago liked the page. And I got to say, and I haven't even got, by the way, I haven't even got through all of your pictures yet. I had to stop because I had to go do some other stuff. But I just thoroughly enjoyed it, and I haven't seen anybody do that in a long time, so I wanted to say thumbs up for that. But anyway, sorry about that. Where were we, guys, before I got off on
that actually reminds me, the behind the knee guy and these other guys of these implants that are jamming everything, did any of them get a communication or an idea of what enhancement or what these implants let them do?
Some of them do. One of the gentlemen I know from up north said that it allowed him to access. Actually, I've had about 5 or 6 people tell me it allows him to access downloads, certain downloaded materials. Some of them says that it helps to increase their empathic or telepathic abilities, all of which is very interesting stuff. Can you prove it? I don't know. With the people with the empathy and the telepaths, somewhat. There are some things you can do that shows that they suggest that they have heightened abilities. But by saying that, I'll say this. The abilities are more than 50-50, sometimes 70-30, 65-35, sometimes 75-25. But much higher than that is rare. And there are a few that have scored higher than that, but there's not many. And those people, by the way, that score higher than that are usually do either really, really well or really, really bad. There doesn't seem to be any middle ground for them. They're either very successful and very in control, or just a mess. And I mean just a mess. And that is as nicely as I can put that. It is really a shame, but it is very true.
I thought you said before that most of the contactees mostly have military implants, you rarely see contactees have ET implants. Is
you
that
really
true?
do. You probably one. It's hard to put a number on this. I would say it's probably 1 in 1,000. Some people would say it's 1 in 100. Some people would say it's 1 in 100,000. Really depends on how many people you think are being taken to what the actual ratio is. For me, it's 1 in 100. And a lot of times I got to say it's even more than that. If we went with the current file of contactees that we know of, about 18,000 over the last 22, 23 years. And that's everybody. I mean, it's everybody that's worked for the ICAR organization, everybody involved with it, people that aren't here anymore, people that are still here, regardless. In the early days, we really weren't checking the implants that carefully on which ones were which. We just assumed that they were all alien until later on when we started getting into lab research. So that was just a bad assumption. So it's hard to correct for that too down the line. We'd have to go back through every single file and take it out and but anyway, long story short, I would say probably anywhere from 1 in 100 to 1 in 1,000 contactees have an implant. Out of the 16 reptilian events we just talked about, only 2 of them reported having an implant. One was Matt, and one was the current. Oh, well, actually 3, because there was one other one. We were just now talking about, but. So that's 3 in 16. That's a higher ratio than 1 in 100. But I would still venture to say there was about 300 people there that night. So that's 1 in 100. Take it for what it is. I don't know. I don't want to lie to anybody.
And my other question is, I know the Greys eat the blue plasma to eat. What do the reptilians eat?
Reptilians eat all kind of stuff. They're like us. The omnivores, carnivores, herbivores. They best I can tell, their teeth are a lot like ours. They do have some spikier, meatier ones in the front, but still, I mean, they're not out. They don't have like big canines sticking out or anything like that. They do have molars, so it does suggest that they pretty much share the same types of foods we do. Being amphibian, and being amphibian, they may like, amphibian, maybe they like frogs, maybe they like fish more. But who knows? Maybe the first time they ate a steak, they were like, holy shit, man, we've been missing out. Just be grateful they don't eat us. That's all we need to be thinking about. Because, we are an animal after all. So let's.
And do the reptilians use blue plasma as well?
No, as far as I know. The blue plasma is exclusively a gray thing. It's a technology beyond either the humans or the reptilians. I think they use a more conventional fuel. I couldn't tell you what. Probably some type of fission and fusion, but maybe some combination. There may be something entirely different we don't even know about. I mean, we just don't know. But with the grays we do, or with the blues we do know that they use that. What was that? I heard somebody talking.
There's another reptilian abductee, which is I'm trying to remember the name, David Eckhart, who he actually relayed this story to me one time. A reptilian was, during an experience, was literally walking around his house, and it brought like a full-size fish, and it wasn't a skinned fish, it wasn't cleaned, it wasn't cooked, and it was eating it like you'd eat a corn cob.
Oh yeah,
like
I've actually heard that.
Like a bear would eat a fish, like just chewing it, and pieces of it were like dropping on the ground, and it just didn't. It was like. So I think they eat a lot of the same. I think they tend to eat more like raw, or more probably unprepared.
Well, I think you're going to see a both with them. See, they're a little different. Okay, I'll make this real fast for everybody. When I was a kid growing up in Louisiana, when me and my grandpa would go walking through the swamp, he was eating the whole way through the swamp. All kind of shit. Stuff that, I didn't even know existed. And he was showing me all, like wild cherries and shallots, just all kind of stuff. Getting honey from bees. He knew how to get the bees away without using a smoker, which amazed me, by the way. So he was going through and doing it. And then along the way, we'd be gathering other stuff for cooking later that night and checking traps and stuff like that. So you'd probably see the reptilians doing the same thing. I would imagine some of their food is prepared and some isn't, because they are they are a civilized race. So somewhere along the line, they probably do have come, because some foods make you sick if they're not cooked. Even reptilians, even with their strong constitution, there are probably other foods that they're not used to, like red meats. Well, I don't know. When they first started, I guess it would depend where they came from and when they started, but maybe that's what cattle mutilations are about. Maybe that's the parts the reptilians like the best. Yeah.
Maybe they just like fresh sushi or something.
Yeah, it's true. Who knows? It's
I love sushi.
And it might be or maybe the reptilian was just walking along that day and he seen a sturgeon swimming along. And he snatched it out of the water and said, "Shit, this looks like a good snack." And I started snacking on it. It's hard to say. I mean, there's no doubt that they don't have the same moral values that we do, and they probably don't have a lot of the same habits we do. But in as far as what we discussed in the races visiting the planet, they're the most like us, or we're the most like them. Our habits, the way we act, our tempers, our personalities, our emotions, and they don't seem to have much more control over their emotions than we do. They are much more technologically. See, this is what worries me, by the way. The human aliens or the reptilians don't seem to have that good a control over their emotions, not much more than we do. And they're much more advanced than we are. So it bothers me to think that 10,000 years from now, 100,000 years from now, we could be a very technologically advanced race and still be a pissy one. That scares me, man. That just scares me. But I think the true difference is they must be united societies. So they're not likely to blow their own selves up. And so I guess that's something we'll have to work on here on Earth, is becoming the human race and Earthlings or Terrans, and not Americans and Russians and Chinese and everybody else on the planet. And it's something we're going to definitely have to work on if we want to survive long term. Because
hey Joe,
Marty, I agree with you. 2 thumbs down to the UN. Go ahead, y'all.
You do seem to see reptilians and greys and Nordics working together frequently. I mean, although they seem to argue a lot during or disagree on how to hear 2 different things. Now, the thing is, in my case, I have literally consciously never seen a gray and never seen a Nordic. I don't know why that is. I don't know why I've been so pieced out just to the reptilians exclusively. I mean, they've sort of related to me specifically what my heritage is and how I'm connected to them, and this one specific strain of red-scaled reptilians, which what have you heard about red-colored or reddish-colored?
I've heard actually about a lot of different colors: red, green, blue, yellow, orange, which we ain't gonna talk about on the air. But some of that suggests hierarchy and rank. Some of that is family lines. They're a very color-oriented society, from what I understand, and their ranks are marked by colors, but their family lineages is also marked by colors. But the family lineages, the colors are actually the way people used to describe it is like, what are they painting their scales? No, it's actually in their DNA. The colors are somehow it's coded in their DNA.
I saw a picture of a reptilian with red on him.
Yeah, a lot of them do, and it's just we don't get into that much because that is considered abduction criteria, and the colors on them and the stuff involved in the colors on them really is it's a pretty good secret. And people can come out and talk about it, but one individual is not going to understand it the way we do because, I've got not everybody's story, but I got a lot of people's stories that I can go by and what the colors mean to them and what the aliens told them and so on and so forth. So it really does. But before we go any further, I want to play something.
Okay.
So y'all just hang on here. Matt, you ready?
Yeah, you can play it. Yeah.
Let me turn this up so we can hear it in the queue a little better here, so hopefully we don't get no echoes or anything. Let's go.
Culture is done, from the Romans to us, where there's abuses and things that go too far. So I don't think they're any worse. I'll put it that way, but I don't necessarily think they're better.
So if I kill a few, it won't bother you none?
They don't even.
Okay, hold on. I heard that. Okay, I just got a rise out of one of the reptilians listening in. Okay, I said I was going to kill one, and then I just heard his voice. Somebody mark down the time. I got to pull that out of this tape.
What did you hear? Like a growl or what? What did you hear?
Somebody mark down the reptilians listening in. Okay, I said I was going to kill one, and then I just
think they're better.
So if I kill a few, it won't bother you none?
They don't even.
Okay, hold on.
I'm going to go back here.
So if I kill a few.
There's actually a sound before this sound, by the way, in case y'all didn't catch that. I don't know if you heard that or not, Matt. There's actually a sound prior to this sound. So we turn this up in the queue a little bit and turn this up a little bit. We're going to go back a little bit and start over here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, you want to write in, you think you might know what this is, if you're in a virtual auditorium, you want to tell me, feel free. Here we go. We'll try again.
So I don't think they're any worse. I'll put it that way, but I don't necessarily think they're better.
So if I kill a few, it won't bother you none?
See, right when he started talking, there was a noise.
They don't even.
Okay, hold on. I heard that. Okay, I just got.
Now you heard the growl there. We're going to go back to.
I heard
12.
Yeah, that I heard. I didn't hear the first thing.
Yeah, let's go back to 12.
I think they're better.
So if I kill a few, it won't bother you none?
Right in front of his voice, there's another voice. It's just one word, and it's right in front of his voice. This was making me crazy the other night when I had it on Delta, on my Delta 3D program. Well, it's not 3D program, but it's a program for analyzing music. And I was going through it, and I kept hearing that in the beginning. But as
a quick pretext to this, this was the August 24th show. I was on the Daniel Ed JM show on August 24th, and this growl sort of jumped in after, and this was in the last 10 minutes of a 2-hour show, and it's a pretty kind of antagonistic show. It leans kind of conservative, kind of Christian. So by that time, if there was a reptilian on the line, it had heard a lot of insults, a lot of antagonistic stuff. So that would sort of set up its boiling point, so to speak. This wasn't in the beginning. This was an hour and 50 minutes of slapping around reptilians in terms of verbally. So so that I'm giving kind of the context of what this is you're listening to.
Okay, let's put this growl through 2 more times, and then we'll talk about it again. But
so if I kill a few, it won't bother you none?
They don't even.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, okay, so hold on.
Won't bother you none?
I heard it. I heard the growl.
They don't even.
Okay, hold on. I heard that. Okay, I just got a ride.
So y'all got it in there. You can hear it now. It's going to be on the archive that you're listening tonight. So anyone who wants to come back and listen to it, it's on here about 5 times now. So you can clip it and analyze it. I have to tell y'all, when I was running this through the filters, Matt and who he's talking to are mixed on one line. There's no way to separate it because it's all together. Like, it's like if you record over recording, you can't separate the two because they're mixed together. But the growl actually says it's on a third string, not a line, but a string. It's like the audio is definitely being interjected from another source. Now, am I saying that? I can't confirm that it's a reptilian, and I can't say that it couldn't have been hoaxed. All I can say is it's obviously not on the line with them. So it would have had to have been either like an outside noise from like in the room where he was in, or someone actually tapped into the line and added it to the top of the string, talking over them. You notice that it's talking, the growl is actually over them. It's like it's being pushed over the audio. But anyway, I mean, that's what we came up with. But like I said, I can't conclusively.
Well, what's interesting is it comes in so fast after it's almost like whatever growl would have produced a sound. It was faster than, let's say someone's in a line and they cue up a sound effect and they're ready to play it. That sound comes in less than like half a second after he makes that statement, almost too fast for a third party to process what he just said. And Daniel Ott, he's sitting there, this video, if you go to his website, there's a video archive where he tapes himself during the show, and he's sitting there with a ballpoint pen in his hand. He's not sitting there with his hand on a mouse or hand on a button. And his engineer, this is 50 minutes since the last commercial break, I don't think his engineer was sitting there with his hand hovering over the sound effect button to hit it with that much speed after he made that statement. So it's almost like whatever processed what he said, processed it faster than a human could have even mentally processed that threat. And you know how reptilians, I mean, the sarcastic comment at the mall training with the nip, I mean, reptilians, they can probably process threats faster, I mean, almost at a sympathetic nervous system level where they're not even consciously, like, you threaten them and they just react.
It's instinct for them. When they're young, whatever age they consider reptilians to be young, I think it's instinct for them. I think there's more it's just like our teenagers today. A lot of times when you're talking to a teenager, you look at his girlfriend or boyfriend or something, a lot of times that's perceived as a threat and they jump without thinking. And I think it's the same for the adolescent reptilians. I don't think it's any different. I think in a lot of ways they have the same problems we have with youth, that the hormones get in the way and other things get in the way. I really do. I don't I don't think there's much in the way of difference there. Oh, Matt, does that answer your question? I said there wasn't much new going on in ufology. Abduction research, there's a lot of new stuff going on, but there's, sightings and stuff every day, but there's nothing earth-changing, changing the world, or going to change the way anybody thinks about UFOs. But I'm listening.
At least it was a growl. At least it was a growl and not a roar. Like, dang it, I don't know if you guys have any records of reptilians actually roaring or anything.
Actually, I got a lot of weird sounds. I got to tell you, I got a regression. This is an old one, too. This is going back 96, 97, 98, somewhere around there. This person's under hypnosis. This has actually happened twice, once with a male, once with a female. She's under hypnosis, and she goes into this weird-ass clicking chicken. So we were thinking it was like a reptilian talk. So somebody, I don't remember who it was, went and got a tape of a dolphin at one of the SeaWorld. It sounded almost identical. I mean, there's definitely some type of communication they were doing there. And then we also know that the Greys especially seem to have some kind of relationship with the dolphins. I imagine if the reptilians are amphibians, they probably do as well. Maybe like, your lunch or maybe something more. I don't know, but I would imagine they would too. I've heard weird. Like, I mean, it's weird sounding. It really is.
I once heard an alligator-type bellowing sound, which was very similar to the noise that was that interjected into the show I was on. That sort of deep gurgling. It almost sounds like a water heater, like in a house. That gurgling, deep, a lot of bass, like a subwoofer combined. If you put a subwoofer under a water heater, that sort of gurgle. Well, go on YouTube, look up alligator territorial bellow, and they can make this noise that's it sounds like like that rumbling deep sort of. It's similar to the sound that jumped in, but the sound that jumped in that you just played, there's like an emotional quality to it that seems like it has more texture to it than you just, when an alligator bellows, it's just sort of a territorial, like, stay away from me. This bellow that jumped into the radio show, it sounds like it's sort of shocked or surprised. Like, you can actually hear in that growl, like, especially if you turn the bass up. And that's another thing. If you're going to listen to this growl, make sure you've got good, not little teeny computer speakers. You got to listen to it with, some speakers that can produce bass. Yeah. And you could hear it sounds kind of shocked and surprised, which is an appropriate reaction considering the host joked about killing a bunch of reptilians. But that's what's so interesting about it. It's such an appropriate, because surprise is what you would expect, not just a random generic. Anyone could go queue up a random generic, reptile noise or monster noise, but this is like a sound of surprise is not a common. I can go and find, surprised growling alligator. It's not a common. I'm not sure there is anything online where that's an archive of surprising an alligator and having it bark back like that. But long story short, yeah, I've heard on one occasion that sort of territorial deep bellow, very similar to the growl that jumped into the Daniel Ott show. So and I've heard them speak English too, which is, and I guess other people have heard reptilians speak English and they can speak telepathically. That's happened to me. And they can growl, and people have heard them hiss. I had a hissing incident, a few months ago. I woke up in the middle of the night, sat up in bed, sleeping at the foot of my bed. It was like someone stabbed a truck tire with a knife, like that hiss, like that real angry hiss. And I just sort of leaned back in the bed and couldn't really sleep the rest of the night. But I didn't see it. It was pitch black. I don't know if I had just gotten put back after an abduction. But then again, alligators can hiss, they can growl, they have a lot of vocal range too, so it makes sense that reptilians would have a lot of range, just like an alligator, which I guess is probably the most. They say alligators are the most similar living animal to dinosaurs on the planet.
There's actually audio on one of my Facebook pages where I was filming about a 10-foot alligator swimming through the swamp, and he lifted his head up and started making noise at us. He was like, oh, like, what you doing? I'm like, look, big boy, I will go get the gun out the car, and you'll be my new pair of boots. You better chill with yourself, because I will turn him into a pair of boots quick, man. Alligator skin's worth a lot of damn money, too. It costs a few grand to get an alligator permit down here, and the average gator is between worth $1,000 and $5,000, so.
They're very intelligent and can be trained very extensively compared to a lot of other animals, which kind of speaks to the capabilities of intelligence and those types of beings. So, alligators, I mean. So if you can train, if alligators show that much intelligence, you'll only imagine what some kind of evolved type of entity does.
What the hell is that?
Sounded like wind, like when.
What the hell? We went outside or something?
I'm not. I'm inside a car.
Everybody's inside, right?
I'm inside.
Okay, I was just making sure. I heard birds chirping and wind blowing. I was like, what the hell? Okay, let's not get weird.
I just heard wind blowing.
I know.
I heard wind blowing too. They can't be on my end because all the windows are closed.
Okay, that was freaky. All right. Well, anyway, I'm not sure.
Hey, I have a couple questions. I have a couple questions for Matt. Can I ask him now?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, thank you for your services as a police officer. And my first question, you mentioned how the reptilians have those spark weapons. Have you ever seen them use any other kind of weapons or any kind of technology specific to them? Because I remember last time I asked Joe about weapons that aliens have. He mentioned about the two rings that reptilians have that when they put them together, they form some kind of force field or something like that. Did I say that correctly?
I haven't seen a force field weapon used personally. I have not. I've seen them use these backpack weapons, which when they hit something, it sparks like a welding torch from a distance, and it's really. I mean, they could shoot a small object near you. It'll explode and just shower you with densely packed sparks. So it's almost like they can turn anything into a sort of a riot grenade or a concussion grenade to sort of disperse people. But I'm sure they could use it to kill if they had to. But I'll tell you, these weapons, these weapons they have, the power backpacks are so thin and they blend in with their bodies so well. I really think this is the source of dragon legends and why dragons around the world, always had the ability to throw or breathe fire. Because these weapons, you can't tell unless you're standing near them that it's not part of their body. And some of them even paint these weapons to match their scales. So you'll see a reptilian and he'll have the backpack, but it's the same color as his chest, and you can sort of see it.
Good. Come on. So,
what's happening?
Hell, you're being taken over, man.
Not me. Yeah, I wonder if it's walking by my fan or something. I don't know.
No, I don't know what that was. That was a weird sound. That was.
Yeah.
So did you just play like a YouTube of an alligator bellow, or what was that?
No. Come on. I heard somebody talking. That weak. Okay, I know what that was. We're good. That was weird.
Oh, you were playing the sound effects, Joe.
That was alligator sounds bellow mating call. That's what that was. I didn't know it started playing. Just now, it just started playing. Just like it was only 50. It played for 34 seconds. Whatever that noise was before wasn't this. I don't know what the hell that was. But that was what that was. I just found it and it came up. But YouTube usually don't just start playing when it comes up like that. So I'm not sure what the hell is going on there.
But yeah, to answer the question, I do think the dragon legends are because it looks like this is part of their body, especially when they pay them to match their scales, and it would explain why around the world people had the idea that these dragons could throw or breathe fire, because it kind of looks like what they're doing unless you're standing near them and get the concept of a gun, which humans didn't understand the concept of guns until a few centuries ago, at least in, Western Europe, and even the earliest firearms, in Asia are like less than 1,000 years old. So even then, you see this monster coming at you out of a cave, and it's shooting this weapon at you. You're going to think it's a fire-breathing dragon and it lives in a cave. And that's another thing about dragon legends. Most of the caves that dragons were said to live in were entrances to underground bases and facilities, but of course, humans couldn't get any further than the cave entrance without getting shot at and chased away, so they just presumed that, like a bear, that these dragons, these reptilians, lived just inside the cave entrance because that's as far as you could get. So that's kind of why the legend became, dragons living in caves and breathing fire, and that's, it's kind of like every pet thinks the vacuum cleaner is the devil, it's...
Yeah. So I wonder why we don't depict dragons showing fire from their hands instead of their mouths, because I kind of had for a story I have where I actually include reptilians and all the other aliens, that's like a main reptilian character that'll have actually has implants in the mouth, so it can actually shoot the fire or plasma from his mouth. But that's just my story idea.
EVPs now? What the hell is going on?
What did you hear that? What was that more YouTube playing? Or
no,
what?
that wasn't nothing. Everything's off. Everything's off. I got everything off. I already closed Explore, and I don't know what the hell that was.
Yeah, I was hearing them too.
Okay. No, I'm every now and then we get weird stuff that pops in there. Or maybe it's because we started playing the growl. I don't know. That other growl y'all hear, so anybody doesn't get confused. There's a growl that comes in later on. You'll hear somebody talking. That's actually an alligator bellowing. That was me. I was playing a YouTube clip. The wind and the birds before that, I have no idea what the hell that was. That was earlier in the show. And then whatever this weird growl was just now, I don't know what the hell that was either.
Yeah, because
they know that. I have a standing invitation to this show.
I'm sitting in a car with everything turned off, all the windows rolled up. There's no computer on or radio in the background. Engine's turned off, so it's definitely not my end. So
yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I do have two fans on in the dorm I'm in, so I don't.
We're not hearing nothing from you. That was. I can tell if it was coming from one of y'all's. It's coming from another source of audio coming in, because it's coming in too strong. It's overpowering our voices, which suggests that it's something else. And But I'll tell you what, I am breaking out my sound effects because we're in October now, and y'all know this is my happy Halloween month, and I've been being nice the first 2 weeks. I haven't been playing no Halloween music or using no stuff, but that's about to end. Well, tonight, but soon. The host will have to start dealing with the cackling and hackling and cracking up sounds of happy, merry effing Halloween.
Yes.
Because it is.
And if any like reptilian wanted to call in, that'd be the perfect time to do so because it'd be conspicuous.
Oh wait, here's an alien.
Come on, reptilian, call on in.
Hey, here's an alien now. Hold on. Oh wait, what's this next one? Hold on, wait. We're gonna shoot the alien. Happy Halloween, dude. We shoot aliens now. Oh wait, we're gonna talk about shooting aliens. Might get in trouble.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's all stuff the host got to deal with. I got all kind of sound effects on my computers. Plus, on some of the other computers, which is not the one we're on tonight, but on some of the other ones, I have just weird cackling noises, doors open and close, and all kind of weird crap that we will be playing all through the festive Halloween season. Here,
Joe, do me a favor and try to
go ahead, man. I'm sorry. Are we good?
Do me a favor, try and go back and analyze whatever that growl was that popped in like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, I'll see if it's an overlay too, like the first one was. I would bet you money from the way it sounded on my end that it was some kind of interference coming in from somewhere else. Because I was hearing it too loud on my headsets. All of y'all sound the same, and it was overpowering all of y'all's voices. Even when Callie was talking, it was actually pushing him out. So it was overpowering the audio altogether. It was cutting him in and out. So that was somebody trying to push in, but, can't reset the router in the middle of the show. So, look, I'll be honest, people. I know I've been telling this to people. Everybody says, oh, their phones. They don't have to listen to you on the phone anymore. We broadcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Why get on the phone? They can listen to me on the radio via the internet like everybody else does. And then if they do hear something they want to screw around with, they can log into their whatever little system. Well, that's UFO Undercover. Oh, that's Joe Montaldo. Oh, watch it. What are you going to do?
Hey, I have two more questions, like one for Matt and one. Okay, first of all, like Matt, you were talking about those implants earlier and how some of them wiggle around and won't tip off. Do you think it's metal? They're actually probably synthetic biology or some kind of advanced biological technology because that they seem to be more organic than metallic. So, and since if they might be designed by the Greys, it'd be very likely that they might be synthetic biology.
In my case, like I said, it did not show up. It showed up on the ultrasound, but not the MRI. And in the other case, this other abductee, same implant, same part of the body, same thing. It shows up on the ultrasound. Then when you do an MRI, which should show metal very clearly, it does not show up. So it seems to be a non-resonant. It could be. One of the things that reminded me that there's conductive substances that are non-metallic is the fact that they were talking like a year ago about how Israel would, if Israel ever wanted to strike Iran, the first thing they do is they drop these carbon fiber tubes, chaff on the electrical system to knock it out. And this is a non-metallic substance, but it's conductive, and it's sort of the same idea where you don't have to have metal to have conductivity or interactions with electrical systems. There's other types of substances that can advance substances. So it might not be biological at all, but it also clearly isn't metallic or magnetic. So it's some other, it could be carbon nanotubes, could be something more advanced, some other polymer substance that we can't even imagine. I guess Joe.
Or it could be actually partially alive in a way.
Sorry, I said that out. I apologize. Sorry, I was reading the chat room, guys. I apologize. I can't repeat what I was reading either. Sorry, but he was making a comment to something. We're talking about your implant in a certain spot and it being ripped out by an MRI. I'm sorry, guys. I just hit the reading. I apologize. I was like, oh shit.
That's true. You know, in hindsight, I never should have gone anywhere near an MRI because I didn't know if it was metallic at the time. So I was taking the risk of having it ripping me
that
in
could have
half.
been harsh, dude. I mean, oh man, that could have been harsh. I don't even want to think about that. God.
That would have killed me because I know it goes all the way back to the spine. So that would have literally cut me in half, and that would have been quite a liability issue for the maker of that MRI, because they refuse to admit anything alien happened. They just say the MRI maker is killing people with their machines and ripping people in half, and suddenly GE goes out of business because I killed someone.
It's a strange. All of this stuff is so strange. You know, people write to me, I can't believe you do this. Why do you do this? You're a crazy bastard. You have a good career. You could be getting into politics. You could be doing professional radio. You have a construction company that does well. Why do you do this? I said, one, I just need to know. I said, two, somebody's got to do it, and I'm in a position where I can, and it doesn't hurt anybody. You know, it's not hurting my family. It's not hurting my friends. It just doesn't, and it's really important because I want to be there to help people out. You know, I got to say though, don't get impatient with me or anybody in ICO, because it does take anywhere from a month to 6 months to really get the attention you need to get a case going, which is hard. I know when you're going through the awakening, I truly understand that. But put this in perspective: a regular who donates to the show, she's a regular in our chat room and she's on our pages, sent me an email back. I think it was July 5th. I just answered her yesterday. Shame on me. I've talked to her on other pages. Just somehow I know that email got missed or lost. But the thing about it is we get a lot of email, a lot. And it takes time to go through it. It takes time to weed through it, and it takes time. And let me say, I was going through some mail the other day on the abduction site. It's abduction@AT&T.net if you want to report something, and or if you want to make a formal report, go to iCar1.com. But anyway, I'm on the site and I'm going through the information, and I noticed most of these cases are not going to be in my realm. I mean, meaning that it's not in my purview. It'll be somebody else will be handling them. So I have to send them on to them, depending on what their caseloads are. It may take them a few weeks to a few months to get to them. And even if it's something really good and it's something jumping out, you know, if you're already involved in some cases, you know, we don't like our directors handling more than about 10 cases at a time at any given time. And, you know, that's we're getting assistance, we're getting more and more people in, but we really don't want them doing it because really more than 5 is taxing. It really is. I mean, it takes a lot of energy out of you, and there's a lot involved in all this. And it's kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous in the way that they need to be able to call you when they need to talk to you and get in touch with you and relay your emails or whatever because they need the support. I mean, it's really what it is. And ICAR is an unofficial support group. We're not an official support group of any kind. We're a research-based organization doing research into people saying they've been abducted by aliens. That's what we do. You know, well, not just abductions, contacts, just the whole idea, but that's what we truly do. That's why I tell people when you're dealing with UFOs, unless you've got really good videotape or really good pictures or multiple witnesses, you should send anything else to MUFON because they're more equipped to track flying red lights in the sky or blue lights or green lights, and send it to file that report as well because they track all of this. And that stuff does help us, by the way, because it shows us correlation to cases, but ICAR is not set up to take what I call standard everyday UFO reports. It's not what we do. We really do abduction research and advanced UFO sighting. Sorry.
Howard, you had like one more question. I cut you off, or
no? I did. I cut you.
Yeah.
I'm always abusing Callie.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm gonna need to get off. I'm getting off anyway, but like this is just for Joe.
Good.
Well, actually, I just share. Just for Joe. Like, okay. And this is kind of way off topic, but like, do you remember all those drawings I used to send you?
Yeah, I got them posted. Yeah.
Yeah, and also including the awful ones. Like, do you think like if you know like or know my real name and like on my Facebook page, do you think you can actually comment on them? Like,
oh yeah, I didn't know if you wanted me to. That's why I never did. But yeah, I keep your names in my file, so it's not even in my email.
And maybe you can show. And then you can even show the ones that depict reptilians to Matt to see if any of them are similar. Oh yeah, and that actually brought me one last question I want to ask Matt. Like before your experience, did did you ever hear about reptilian aliens? And when you finally did see reptilian aliens, were they similar or different to how you imagine them to look like, appearance-wise?
Well, I had, on the internet randomly just from reading alternative news on the net, which is superior to regular news nowadays, and you get things that, so I've just, you'd see rumors and just randomly heard about it. My first experience was in 2003, so when I first visibly had, a reptilian encounter, their appearance was, I didn't really have like a preconceived notion of exactly what they were going to look like, so I wasn't shocked or I didn't have like a notion ahead of time that was shattered or particularly changed. So it was more, the 2003 experience is more like, okay, well, this is what I'm vividly seeing one right in front of me, two of them, and so it wasn't really like a matter of, I think it's this, but it's actually this. The thing is, with reptilians, there seem to be a lot of cross species and different sizes and different ages and different, so it's, it's hard for me to judge anyone's, what they've seen, because it's just like on Earth, reptiles are so, they're so diverse here. Like, just one species. Look at how many species of snake there are in colors and shapes and, iguanas and lizards. So, it's hard to, it's hard to pigeonhole exactly what the standard in my case, all the ones I've seen, dark brownish green scales, sort of snake-like, and the fact that the scales are very reflective and kind of shimmery, not dry. And they have that like permanent. Some snakes have that permanent wet look to them. Same thing with a lot of reptilians. And they showed me this red-scaled ancestor, who I don't know if he's still alive, but they sort of showed me an image. This is your, this one reptilian bloodline. You're from this one particular red-colored reptilian. But the only living ones I've seen are dark brownish green scales, 6.5 feet tall, short muzzle, not like a really long snout or anything. So I haven't seen any grays, haven't seen any Nordics. Maybe I have, but don't remember. But that's as far as my experience, what I've actually seen. It's kind of narrow in that particular spectrum. So.
Actually, probably, maybe Joe may have mentioned this to you or not, but according to them, reptilians don't actually have scales. They're more like from your skin, because when you actually feel them, they're very smooth and they actually feel warm to the touch. That's why they say they're warm-blooded. And in terms of it's a very smooth. It's almost like a frog snake. That sort of shimmery. It doesn't feel like, it's not like sand. It's very the smooth sort of trying to come up with a good allegory to it. But the frogs, snakes, that sort of it's definitely not dry. There's definitely they always have that sort of that glistening, reflective.
They just sexy beast. Actually, a lot of people like the reptilians. Yeah.
And since you're talking about here, and this is the last thing before I get off. Of the amazing Spider-Man movie, the latest Spider-Man movie, and they had the villain, the Lizard. Maybe if you look up pictures of him, do you think that maybe you can see if that looks a lot like what a reptilian looks like? Because it seems like, at least for the
I saw the movie. The face was a bit too human in that. The reptilians' faces are not quite that. Like the nose and everything is a bit more. It's more of a short, it's more of a muzzle, a short muzzle, but it's still more of a muzzle. Whereas in the movie, they made the face too human. I guess for the acting, for the drama and the or familiarity, or that wasn't quite that accurate.
I thought his face was kind of off myself. Hey, Callie, I got a link for you. I'm gonna post the news on the flip side sometime this week. This is some new news that came out. I had heard about this a couple months back, but I was waiting for somebody to put a scientific link on it. recently, you know, they said we came across the land bridge about 12,000 years ago, and y'all know I've been bitching and barking that ain't no way true. We've been here a lot longer in the Americas. Well, guess what, guys? They're saying we've been here 30,000 plus years. We're prehistoric in the Americas, and there's a bunch of Brazilian exhibits they just posted that they're having a hard time discounting. So they're going to change.
I may have seen something like that. I'll look into it. I'll appreciate the link.
Yeah, but it's been out for a little while. It's just not many people have talked about it yet. Basically, it's prehistoric Brazil artifacts star and exhibit sparks debate. Because this is really much earlier than we thought they were here. And if it is 30,000 plus years, it could suggest a separate evolution. Might explain why South Americans are 99% O. It might be that O came from this continent, AB came from the other continent, and then they just merged somewhere along the line. It's looking more and more like, but those are theories, and we won't know that, to be honest with you, for 50 to another 100 years. They'll argue, even if they know it, without any doubt, they will still argue for 100 years about it. They just can't help it. So I've watched modern science, things that should have been changed 25 years ago. You're like the water on Mars thing. Come on. There's a massive ice cap at the top of Mars. There's a massive ice cap at the bottom, but there's no water. We know it has temperatures that can reach up to 80 degrees, but there's no, get the hell out of here. A moron 5-year-old could have figured that out. I mean, there's some things that are just common sense that it seems to take decades to work out. And you can bet your ass this will be one of those. But you know, they've been talking about this for a while, but it's going to be interesting to see where it leads to. You know, I don't like to hate on evolutionists because to me, evolution, panspermia is a reasonable theory for a lot of things. Creationism, you know, I got issues with creationism, but hey, I'm not going to hate. And of course, you know, alien intervention or changing or even putting us here. Any of those three, you could say, put us here. You know, if you believe in God, of course, God put us here. If you believe in aliens, you probably think aliens put us here. If you're a hardcore science geek, you probably believe in panspermia and evolution. And they just recently knocked back again how far back there was life on the planet. Yet again, it's going to break the billion-year mark now, something around 1.3, 1.
Yeah, it was already like 33.6 billion years. So
yeah, they keep pushing it back more and more. So it's looking like there was life here much earlier than we thought there was, and much longer than we thought there was. Different types of life than we thought there was. We're learning a lot, but you know, we're a baby society. And 500 years from now, when we really kind of understand stuff, we may come up with some really, if reincarnation is true, this conversation we're having here should be resolved in 200 to 500 years. And we'll be able to say, well, damn, now we know how we got here. Wow, look at this. And then again, it might be 500,000 years. Who knows? We are humans after all.
Yeah, take back on the reptilians.
Oh shit, they're landing. Run.
Yeah, you know, I should probably get off because I have a meal plan I have to attend to for my college because the cafeteria closes at 8 o'clock. But you probably don't know what I'm talking about. But I have to get off. But ask Matt one. Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here. What's up?
Yeah, but ask Matt one last thing for you. You know, I'm gonna get off. Like, did you ever notice any of the reptilians having spikes along their heads? Because I know that you described the reptilians having spikes on their heads. But I'll have to get off, so I'll listen to it later on. Okay.
Okay. Man, Callie, thanks for calling in. Enjoyed your call, dude.
All right. Always enjoy it. Bye.
Be good.
Well, I didn't, in my cases, see pronounced horns. I mean, yeah, there seemed to be a ridge or bumps, but not like spikes or. Not that I've seen.
That's what they are. They're ridges. They usually start in the front and run to the back. Some of them run all the way down. But most of the ones I've heard you talk about sound like adolescents. They don't really have them. They got like little, you know.
Well, I mean, they were. I mean, if they had them, they were definitely very unpronounced and very small. Because I did not. They definitely didn't stick out enough for me to jump out and go, yeah.
Reptilians, it seems like the older they get, everything seems to get bigger. And as far as I can tell, they don't grow a tail unless they're an alpha. I mean, as far as I can tell, I can't, rule it out, but it seems like that unless they're an alpha, they're not allowed, even if they're old, they're not allowed to have a tail unless they're an alpha. It's like a sign of who and what you are.
What's the lifespan of the reptilians?
What was that, Ben?
Say it again?
what's the lifespan of the reptilians that we mentioned earlier? Like, can they die of old age without a tail?
Yeah, they're not
Or
immortal.
do they have?
No, they're not immortals. Best we can tell, the reptilians are not. They're not like the Greys. They do seem to have a limited lifespan. It's probably 1,000 times longer than ours. I would venture anywhere from 10,000 to 1,000,000 years, but I mean I don't really know. That's sheer speculation and guessing in between. But we do know, like we know with the Greys, that the same reptilian abducts in the same family. So your great grandmother 10 times removed may have been abducted by the same reptilian that abducted you. So they do live long. We just don't know how long, but they don't live as long as the Greys. As far as I understand, when you talk about most of the races outside of the Greys and the light beings, they all seem to are very advanced, fairly well organized, and have very long lifespans, but they're not to the evolutionary peak of what the Greys are. The Greys seem, first off, seem to be immortal, with the exception of the fact, unless like you blow one up or run one into something, and then they can still, their conscious is almost immediately uploaded via something subspace or something to a computer and then into a new body. So they don't seem to have any problem, any long lifespans. And I'm sure there's exceptions to that rule, and I'm sure they can die if they can. It's probably where Galactica came up with its thing from, was from the people talking about the Greys. I was thinking about that the other day. I was watching. I'm finally going back to watch Battlestar Galactica because I really didn't like it, the series. But a couple of my friends did. My wife did. I know Jason did, Linda did, and a few other people. So I said, go back, give it a second chance, because I didn't like Babylon the first time I watched it either. So I've been going back and watching it. It's not as bad as I thought it was, but I noticed one of their theories is that they can shift their consciousness from one ship to the other, or as long as they got something nearby. And it's probably where they got the idea from, because that's what contactees say the Greys do. If for some reason one of them gets killed, their consciousness can be immediately uploaded into a new body or into the computer or something. So it's very interesting stuff. It's technology that one day we will have. I mean, our government is working on uploading the body onto a computer and then uploading it into a new host body. At first, they were trying to just upload it into a body, but for some reason, they seem to be having more luck with uploading it into a computer and then uploading it into a body. So I have no idea, or download it, or whatever you want to call it. So I really don't know, but I mean, it is technology our government officially said they were working on, because somebody said one time, it was not Procter & Gamble, who was it? Masters and Johnson said one time that they could probably turn off the aging gene. There's probably a way that they could turn off the aging gene, either through therapy or through pills. So, around 30 or 50, whatever age you thought you'd be comfortable with, you could actually have that gene turned off. And basically, you're basically immortal, unless something fails in your body or something else goes wrong. So they figured out then that they didn't have to clone bodies, because of test tube babies, we know we can grow babies. The problem for them is you can't really grow a baby to full size. You'd have to have a way of wiping its memory. It couldn't have any. It'd have to be like a blank slate, so the new consciousness can upload in it. So I think the first thing for humans are going to be is learn how to grow a body quickly, so that they can do that, or have to deal with the fact that when your consciousness is uploaded, you're uploading to a freaking baby, and you basically got to start from scratch. But you'll just be a savant, I guess. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff.
Morally, I think if you're cloning a body to take it over, you're basically you're killing something just to take over its whatever would have been there without you being in it. So I think all this Frankenstein life extension stuff is really morally way outside.
Well, that's what they're saying. You'd have to be able to grow a body from infancy to man or womanhood in less than a week, because then the brain wouldn't have time to develop a personality, and then you could just whoosh, and you wouldn't be killing anything. You'd actually be bringing life to the body. But I do say there's a lot of moral stuff, a lot of issues we're going to. I'm against clone bodies for parts. I can tell you that now. For anybody to ask, I'm totally against clone bodies for parts. I don't think we should have cloning people and keeping them in warehouses for spare parts. I think that's crazy stuff. I really do.
I think that's what the aliens are doing. Like when the baby's in the womb, I think the aliens are just taking the DNA and growing the clone bodies on ship or off world, and doing what you're saying, or when they do need to take your consciousness and upload it to that new body when the human dies here on Earth.
All right. Well, those aren't clones, okay? See, this is where I think a lot of people make a mistake. From what we know about the Greys especially, these aren't clone bodies. They take your cells and grow a new body, and they adjust it accordingly to wherever it's going to go. Because I noticed some of these bodies look like they're set up, they look like you, but they look like they're set up for heavier G environments. Like 2 or 3G, not like Earth. And the heads, a lot of times the heads are shaped different, but it's you. You can recognize yourself, or you can recognize someone else. And then some of them look a lot like they do today, just slightly different. So what it looks like they do is they take your DNA and infuse it and grow it, and then they upload it conscious. Now, what's funny about this is, in the last 5 years, last 8 years or so, I have been getting well, how can I say this politely? A lot of contactees writing to me saying that they remember being downloaded into the body on board the ships for whatever reason. You know, y'all hear us talk about non-physical abductions, and you've even heard us talk about abductions where they may have been uploaded into like a hologram type environment where everything seems like a matrix type thing. Well, it seems like that was like the training for being downloaded into a new body to see how it works, how everything works out. And what they started doing, it was about 8 years ago when I started getting the first reports about this. Now, in the last 4 years, I've gotten probably 3 times as many reports about people being downloaded into bodies on board ship, leaving their body here. And then what's been bothering me even more, people are talking about split consciousness. And that really bothers me, because what happens is if they make a clone of you or make a new body of you, upload you into it, and then split the consciousness and leave part of it in there and the other part back here. Well, then they no longer need this part anymore, do they? Because they got what they need there. So it kind of bothers me a little bit. It really does. And I guess it would be your life experiences. Do they need your life experiences? In other words, do they need to come get me 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, whenever I kick the bucket? 100 years hopefully, and then upload me then, or can they upload me now and then just let me go from this point forward, no longer need me? So they've already got me, and I'm already been uploaded, and I'm going on with my other life without even knowing it. That's freaky stuff. Best I can tell, though, they don't. They put you in it for a while, and they put you back. It's like training.
Yeah.
They put you in it for a while, they put you back. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think they just do it while you're in the womb before the baby's actually born. That's why I think they collect the genes and whatnot and put it on ship.
Oh yeah, they collect everything they need then. See, for them, it's probably more like a twin is what they're creating, more than likely, a modified twin. That's probably when they do collect all the DNA and everything they need from the parents. You know, then hell, as far as we know, they may be taking the egg and the sperm at the same time and just letting it grow until they need to modify it, and then uploading you into it. Apparently, they have a way to keep the consciousness clear. They must be able to run your body without needing, or either that or they put it in stasis. Something they do that it doesn't allow the body to grow its own consciousness. So that's interesting in itself. But we get a lot of reports like that, a lot. I got to say, though, at first they were coming out of Europe more than they were coming out of the United States. Now we're getting quite a few out of the United States. And I finally started just recently getting some out of Brazil. And Brazil's like our 5th biggest group or 4th biggest group in ICART. The Brazilians make a big chunk of the people who come and are really interested. There's a lot of stuff goes on in South America, man. I've really been thinking about going to spend some time down there. It's just, until something gives in our country and things stabilize, it makes me a little nervous to be roaming around.
I actually wanted to bring up something about Central America. The Reptilians seem to have a strong relationship with certain Central American cultures, the Aztecs, the Incans, the Mayans. I know one abductee from Florida where the Reptilians basically told him, "Hey, you're descended from Montezuma," and he has very little Indian blood. He looks pretty white. And he looked it up. It turned out he was from a certain tribe specifically tied to Montezuma.
You white boy.
And I think I recall you saying something about how Montezuma was said to be partially reptilian or not human, or he looked kind of odd, or he had...
Well, they say stuff like that, and then they worship, was it Quasa? I can't say his name, I never can.
Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah, and I always butcher it. Every now and then I'll get it right, but usually I'll butcher it. But there's several serpents or reptilians they worship down there, serpents and reptilians. And they consider them the bearers of life and the bringers of good things. And now with this new thing about them making South America prehistoric, meaning there was life here, more than 30,000 years ago, the Sumerian text even makes more sense to me now. If the reptilians were over here and the humans were over there, eventually one side or the other was going to interfere, and it looked like that the reptilians went and landed over there, with the Dogon as Numos, and came out and started interfering in the Middle East.
There's an ancient Sumerian text. One of the texts that actually depicts how the serpent gods were looking down at humans. And humans, they were at sort of a caveman level. They had spears, they had animal skins, but they were literally too dumb to make pottery. They couldn't make basic brick or stone. They couldn't mine. It's like all they could figure out how to do is skin animals and sharpen sticks. And it's like the serpent gods were like, look, we have to show them at least. We can't, it's disgusting watching them watching these primitive humans. When they had to drink water, they'd go up to the river and dunk their heads in the water because they were literally too dumb to figure out how to make basic pottery to put the water in. So like a dog or like drinking out of a toilet or something, they like drinking out of puddles, drinking out of rivers face first, and it's like that was almost like one of the things the reptilians sounded like, look, we gotta give them some kind of education on how to, and then they taught them how to pretty much all civilization was pretty much from the reptilian gods. I taught them everything from agriculture to architecture to every kind of learning. But humans were, it seems to be, they were at sort of a caveman level, but there was sort of like a wall that we just couldn't get past ourselves. Like we got to that sort of 65, 70 IQ point level, but we were kind of like at a blockage point. And the reptilians were like, look, we got to sort of, kind of like the way humans took wolves and domesticated them and made them into dogs and
Oh yeah, I know. But I know we got to be getting down there because we already ran over half hour. See, and you was worried about it, man. We didn't even get in half the stuff I wanted to talk about. It's always that way though, because there was quite a few other things I wanted to bring up tonight. But now that we're 2.5 hours over, I want to. No, we ain't doing 3 hours, people. I got to go to work tomorrow. I have another job. Yes, and it makes more money than this one does. Okay, a lot more. I got to say, I'm so happy. We're starting to cool off down here now. And, look, if y'all make lots of donations, I can quit my day job and do 24-hour radio, but not until that point. But we're starting to cool off down here. There's only about 80 degrees today, which was, God, we were outside all day today, so it was so nice that it was over 80, because just last week, we were painting outside of an office building. We just wrapped up on today that it was 96 degrees outside, man. We were like, Jesus Christ, what are you trying to kill us? It was just nasty hot, but it's nice. And when you're in the shade, there's a nice cool breeze blowing. It's really, really nice down here this time of year. From now until about March, it is just nice. It's going to get foggy later in a couple of months, but it's nice. It's pretty. The evenings are beautiful. The skies are gorgeous. The air has got barely a nip of coolness to it. I actually even seen somebody wearing a sweater last night. I was like, wow, look at this. Y'all can tell it stays hot down here a long time. So we're just happy this is October and it's just now starting to get a little cooler. Oh man, it started getting hot in April last year. So April, May, June, July, August, September, Jesus, that's 5 months of heat. But I guess it's better than 5 months of snow, so I'm not going to bitch. But man, I want to tell you thanks, man. I had a great time. We got a lot out. I wanted to talk about your first 2 experiences and bring that on. And I wanted to kind of recap over some of your other stuff. I wanted to really kind of recap some of the mall stuff because I wanted to kind of go back to what 2 of the other guys had told me, but we'll have to get to that to another day. But anyway, I want to tell you thanks, man. I had a lot of fun. It's a good show. It should do well.
Yeah, feel free to the next show you're on, just to whatever that was left over to to mention it, or what other anecdotes having to do with the mall?
A couple of months right after the first of the year, I'll get you back on, and we'll start from where we left off tonight, and that way we'll just do like a continuation of this show, and we'll start to where we are. But I really liked it. Ben, thanks for calling in. Callie, if you're listening, thanks for calling in. Anybody else? I've seen there was a couple other calls that didn't make it through, but hey, when we get 2, 3, 4, 5 of us in the queue, it's hard to get anybody else. But you're always welcome to call. You should always call. I love calls, And by the way, let's go right quick back to the Facebook thing. Let's see if we can't get UFO Undercover up to around 55,000 fans. And then, later on in the year, we'll see if we can't get it over that. But let's see if we can get the benchmark. Stephanie last week had asked y'all and a couple of weeks back, I asked you if you could get us to 35. We're at 35. And about a week ago, Stephanie asked y'all if y'all could get News on Flipside over 40. I checked today, it was at 42. So I want to tell everyone thanks for clicking on like. And look, it just helps us. It helps to show our advertisers and people who's actually listening to the show. I know probably 65% of everybody clicking on like is not from the U.S. I want to tell y'all double thumbs up. And from everyone in the U.S., tell your friends about us. Get more U.S. listeners involved. I mean, the U.S. is at the pinnacle of this. We're the ones that need to lead in this. So, get them involved. Get them to write. And like I said, if you want to make a donation, ParanormalRadioNetwork.com. It's easy. Click on the little donate button and fill in your amount and click the button and you're done. It's fast, painless. Well, I don't know about painless, but it depends on how much you donate. You know what I mean. But everybody who has in the past, I appreciate every donation we've ever gotten. Y'all don't even know. You've probably saved my marriage. On that note, we're going to get out of here again. Matt, thanks. You were fantastic tonight. You did a great job. I had a great time. Again, Ben, thanks. Callie, again. Room, y'all were a blast tonight. I always bitch at hosts about reading the room. I was really bad about that tonight, but I had a really good time. So until next Wednesday.
All due to Jason.
That's Jason. So we'll blame him. Go ahead, Matt.
You said you're going to post that Colonel's regression. Do you have a YouTube channel currently active, or just the Facebook? Or?
No, I got a YouTube. I don't use it for much. Actually, I've been using AS's YouTube channel, Arcturian Stars. She keeps a lot of her material there. She took down the Reptilian one for some reason, but she keeps a lot of her stuff there. But I am going to start moving stuff. Actually, any volunteers out there? Any interns, secretaries, friends? I really want to get the YouTube channel going, but we need someone who can upload them, add, pictures and video and stuff like that to them, and put it up on YouTube. I just don't have time.
YouTube itself is becoming like a social network almost as much as Facebook and Twitter, and it's a lot more accessible on your phone instead of logging into the Facebook. Which the thing is uploading and the images and the audio. I don't really have that skill. I do it myself, but I'm not like a skilled computer guy myself. So,
it's interesting how it all went. Oh, hey, Kathy, didn't see you in the room, sweetie. Kathy had a good show last night. Y'all should go check that one out. She had Clifford Stone. That was a good interview. I haven't even checked the stats to see what they were yesterday, but it was a good interview. Y'all should check it out. But there's a lot of good material in that work, y'all. Check it out. It's there for y'all. I get to listen to it live, so, I'm not going listen to it again. Somebody said, Dad, I bet you click and plays. I said, I can tell you this much. I have probably not clicked play on any of our sites more than one time in the last year. It's already loaded into my computers and stuff. I want to listen to it, so you can take that to the bank. But next week, Jim Mars is going to be with Omi. We're going to be talking about his new book, I believe, and it should be a lot of fun. Jim is always a great guest. He's a very eloquent speaker, and he really knows his stuff, so he's always a lot of fun to have on, so I'll be looking forward to that. And until next week, people, enjoy your lives. Have some fun. Smile. I know we're in the middle of a shutdown, which I'm still trying to figure out exactly what's going on, shutting down, but I know we're in the middle, but you still can smile. A smile will help all your neighbors, and I promise you your face won't crack. Good night, everybody.